Imagine a life where your thoughts shape your reality. This audiobook reveals the science behind harnessing the extraordinary power within you. Quantum physics, mind-body connections, and limitless possibilities await. Step into your supernatural potential today. Introduction. What if everything you've ever been told about your limitations is a lie? What if you're actually capable of things far beyond your wildest dreams, things that defy logic, reason, and everything you thought was possible? Picture this: waking up tomorrow with a life filled with limitless possibilities, where your health, wealth, relationships, and every dream you've had for yourself have already started to manifest. You might think that sounds impossible, but it's not. It's not magic or luck, it's science. And it's available to anyone who is willing to unlock it. You're about to embark on a journey where you will discover that the supernatural is not some mystical force reserved for the chosen few. It's the natural state of every human being, just waiting to be awakened. Every single person has the potential to tap into a higher state of consciousness, harness the power of their thoughts, and reshape their reality. You have the power within you right now, whether you believe it or not. It's simply a matter of understanding the extraordinary connection between your mind, your body, and the world around you. And in this chapter, I'm going to show you exactly how to access it. The power of your mind-body connection. We've all heard that our thoughts have power, but did you know that your thoughts literally shape your reality? This isn't just a nice thought. It's a scientifically proven fact. The mind and body are not separate entities. They are intricately connected in ways that have the potential to transform your life. What you think, believe, and expect directly influences your body's biochemistry, your emotions, and your physical reality. Your mind is like the architect of your life, sending blueprints to your body, which then manifests those blueprints into physical form. Whether you're aware of it or not, every thought you have is either building the life of your dreams or creating the life you're trying to escape. Now imagine if you could control this process. What if you could consciously program your mind to create the life you've always wanted? What if you could activate the innate healing abilities within your body or manifest abundance, love, and success just by aligning your thoughts with your desires? That's not just wishful thinking, it's science. Studies in neuroplasticity and epigenetics show that our brains and bodies are constantly changing in response to our thoughts and environment. In other words, you can rewire your mind and body to create new, healthier patterns, overcome limitations, and access your full potential. Beliefs shape your reality, the science behind transformation. So, if the mind has this kind of power, why don't more people tap into it? The answer lies in beliefs. Our beliefs, what we've been conditioned to accept as truth, are the filters through which we perceive reality. And most of the time, these beliefs are limiting, shaped by our past experiences, society, and family. But here's the powerful truth. Your beliefs don't have to define your future. In fact, you can change them. The key to unlocking your supernatural potential lies in understanding that your beliefs shape every aspect of your life. They dictate the reality you experience, whether you're aware of it or not. What if you could shift your beliefs from one of limitation to one of abundance, health, and possibility? What if you could begin to see the world and yourself through a lens of infinite potential rather than scarcity and fear? You absolutely can. The latest research in neuroscience, particularly in the fields of neuroplasticity and quantum physics, shows that the brain can be reprogrammed. You can literally create new neural pathways and belief systems by consciously choosing the thoughts and beliefs that support your highest vision. In other words, the life you're living right now is the direct result of the beliefs you've held up until this moment. If you want to change your life, you must change your beliefs. But this is no easy task. It requires you to become the conscious creator of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Science proves it. Extraordinary transformation is real. Now I can already hear you asking, but how do I know this isn't just some woo-woo concept or another motivational trend? The answer is simple. Science backs it up. From breakthroughs in quantum physics to groundbreaking research in neuroscience, science is proving what ancient wisdom traditions have known for centuries. The mind is an incredibly powerful tool, and it can shape your reality in profound ways. Take quantum physics, for example. It's no longer up for debate that the observer plays a role in the creation of reality. This is known as the observer effect, and it shows that when we focus our attention on something, we influence its outcome. In essence, our thoughts and intentions are not just passive, they are actively shaping the world around us. The science of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on our thoughts and experiences, further supports this idea. For years, we were told that our brains stopped growing or changing after a certain age, but modern neuroscience has completely debunked that myth. In fact, your brain is continuously changing and adapting based on the input it receives. So, if you change your thought patterns, you can change the structure and function of your brain. And if you change your brain, you change your life. Moreover, the field of epigenetics has revealed that our environment and thoughts can influence the expression of our genes. This means that you are not at the mercy of your genetic code. You can influence your genetic expression through the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, and the environment you create around yourself. This scientific understanding shows that transformation is not only possible, it's already happening inside of you. The supernatural is within you. It's time to unlock it. Now that you know it's possible to tap into the power of your mind and body, the question remains, how do you unlock this potential? How do you go from understanding these concepts to experiencing real lasting transformation? The answer is simple. You must take action. In this book, we'll explore the steps you can take to begin reprogramming your mind, transforming your beliefs, and aligning your thoughts and actions with your highest potential. You'll learn how to activate the incredible energy that resides within you and use it to manifest the extraordinary life you desire. This journey is not just about understanding the power of your mind. It's about putting that understanding into practice. It's about taking inspired action every single day to reshape your beliefs, to heal your body, to create your reality, and to embody the true power you've always had within you. The world is ready for you to step into your greatness, and so are you. Are you ready to unlock your supernatural potential? The science is there. The tools are here. The time is now. It's time to transform your life, starting today. Chapter 1. Awakening to the Supernatural Self, the Illusion of the Ordinary. Most people go their entire lives never questioning the invisible boundaries that shape their identity. They wake up each day with a familiar set of thoughts, feel the same habitual emotions, and follow the same routines, often without ever realizing they're living in a repetitive loop. For them, life is a predictable cycle, and their sense of self is tightly bound to their past experiences, past hurts, past victories, and past beliefs. But what if this version of normal isn't natural at all? What if being ordinary is the real illusion? In the stillness of those quiet moments, between breaths, between thoughts, something inside you has always known there is more. More to feel, more to be, more to discover. This book is about that more, not in some abstract philosophical sense, but in a deeply embodied, scientifically supported, and spiritually expansive way. Because becoming supernatural isn't about becoming someone else. It's about shedding the layers of who you were told to be so you can remember who you truly are. You are more than your body. To begin this journey, we must first challenge the most basic assumption about ourselves, that we are just bodies, navigating the world through the five senses. While your physical body is a remarkable instrument designed to perceive, express, and experience, it is not the totality of who you are. You are consciousness inhabiting a body, not a body generating consciousness. And when we begin to accept this truth, our entire paradigm shifts. Suddenly, we're no longer limited by what we see in the mirror or feel in our muscles and bones. We become aware of an energetic field that animates us, organizes our biology, and responds to our inner world. Your heartbeat, your breathing, your digestion, these processes happen without your conscious input, orchestrated by an invisible intelligence that is, quite literally, supernatural. The moment you acknowledge this intelligence within you is the moment you begin a relationship with the part of yourself that transcends limitation, trauma, and time. The role of conditioning in limiting identity. If you were born as pure potential, untouched and untamed, then what happened? Why, over time, did you begin to believe in limitation, fear, and separation? The answer is simple but profound. Conditioning. From the moment you took your first breath, you began absorbing information. You learned through observation, through language, through repetition. You were told what was possible and what wasn't, who you could be and who you couldn't. These messages didn't just stay in your conscious mind, they sank deeper, programming your subconscious like software running in the background. Over years, these beliefs calcified into identity. And now, many people live in invisible prisons built from outdated emotional experiences, inherited family narratives, and cultural constructs. They become their history. But what science now tells us is that these patterns are not fixed. Your brain is plastic. It can rewire itself. Your genes are not your destiny. They respond to environment, and environment includes your thoughts and emotions. This means that who you have been does not determine who you can become. That's the entry point into transformation. The personality-personal reality loop. Here's something that most people never realize, and yet it determines the quality of their entire life. Your personality creates your personal reality. Let that sink in. Your thoughts, your emotional states, your behaviors, they shape the lens through which you perceive the world, and in turn, create your experience of it. If you constantly think about your past, feel emotions like guilt, frustration, or resentment, and behave in ways that reinforce those patterns, then your future will look an awful lot like your past. Not because it has to, but because that's the signal you're continuously broadcasting into the field of possibilities. You are telling life, "More of this, please." And the universe responds, not with judgment, but with precision. It mirrors you. To change your life, you must change your personality. That's not a quick fix. It's a deliberate, moment-by-moment process of becoming aware of who you've been and choosing to show up differently. Thought by thought, emotion by emotion, choice by choice. The energy behind creation. Now, let's talk about energy. This isn't esoteric fluff, it's physics. Everything in the universe is made of energy, vibrating at different frequencies, including you. Your thoughts have energy. Your emotions generate measurable electromagnetic fields. Your body emits light. Science has shown this over and over, from quantum mechanics to neuroscience. When you think a thought, you are creating electrical activity in the brain. When you feel an emotion, you are altering the magnetic field of the heart. Together, these signals broadcast a frequency into the field around you. That field, the quantum field, is where all possibilities exist. So, if you want to attract a new reality, you must match the energy of that reality. You can't create abundance from a state of lack or love from a state of fear. Your internal state must align with the future you desire, not the past you regret. That's where the real work begins, learning to feel the emotions of your desired future before it arrives. That's how you draw it to you, not through effort alone, but through energetic alignment. consciousness as the real frontier. Let's take it one step deeper. The new frontier of science is not outer space, it's inner space. Consciousness is the next evolution of human understanding. And when we explore consciousness, we're no longer just talking about mental activity. We're talking about the source of reality itself. Every ancient tradition and every cutting-edge scientific inquiry are converging on the same idea. Consciousness creates form, not the other way around. When you think, when you observe, when you intend, you influence the world around you. This is not philosophical, it's demonstrable. The observer effect in quantum physics shows us that particles behave differently depending on whether or not they're being observed. That means your attention matters. Your focus is creative. And when you learn to place your attention not on what's wrong or missing, but on what's possible and desired, you begin to participate in reality at a much deeper level. Breaking free from survival-based living. Most people spend the majority of their lives in survival mode. They wake up and immediately feel stress, thinking about everything they have to do, everything that went wrong yesterday, or what might go wrong tomorrow. That stress triggers the body's fight or flight response, flooding the system with adrenaline and cortisol. The brain becomes incoherent, the heart becomes arrhythmic, the immune system weakens, and the body becomes addicted to those stress hormones. It's a vicious cycle, and over time, this state of being becomes normal. But survival was never meant to be a lifestyle. It was meant to be a response to danger. Living in survival robs you of your creativity, your healing potential, and your ability to connect to the quantum field. You cannot access elevated states of consciousness from a place of chronic stress. You must teach your body that it's safe to relax, to open, to trust. That's where meditation comes in, not as a spiritual practice per se, but as a neurological and physiological intervention. It teaches you to slow down the brain waves, access the subconscious, and shift from survival to creation. The journey from thinking to feeling to being. Transformation doesn't happen by knowledge alone. It begins with learning. Yes, with taking in new information and understanding how your biology, your mind, and the quantum field work together. But that's only the first step. Next, you must apply what you've learned. You begin practicing new thoughts. You generate elevated emotions. You start behaving as the person you want to become. And when you repeat this over time, those thoughts become beliefs. Those emotions become familiar, and those behaviors become habits. Eventually, the new state of being becomes automatic. You move from thinking to doing to being. That's when real change happens. Not when you're trying to be different, but when you are different. When you no longer have to remember to act like your future self, because you've become them. And from that new state of being, you naturally attract new experiences, new relationships, and new outcomes. Life changes not because you forced it to, but because you changed the energy you're emitting into the field of infinite possibilities. The supernatural as the most natural state. Here's the irony. What we call supernatural is actually the most natural thing in the world. Elevated states of love, joy, gratitude, compassion. These are our original blueprint. We came into this world wired for connection, for wholeness, for unity. It's only through years of programming and survival living that we forget. But when we begin to tap into these states intentionally, through meditation, through breath work, through heart coherence, we don't become something new. We return to something ancient and true. We remember. And in that remembrance, the miraculous becomes accessible. Spontaneous healing, synchronicities, creative downloads, deep inner peace. These aren't fantasies. They are natural outcomes of living in alignment with your higher self and the intelligence of the universe, trusting the process of becoming. So, if you're feeling the stirrings of something awakening inside you right now, trust it. That is the part of you that remembers. That is the part that's been waiting patiently for you to look beyond the veil of your conditioning and see what's truly possible. This journey will not always be easy. It will challenge your identity. It will require discipline, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront the familiar discomfort of change. But I promise you this, the reward is beyond anything the limited self could have imagined. You will begin to feel whole, not because your life is perfect, but because you are no longer seeking completion in the external world. You will begin to live from the inside out, in harmony with yourself and the field around you. And that, in every sense of the word, is supernatural. Chapter 2. Beyond the Veil of Identity, the Self as a Story, and the Need to Rewrite It. Who we believe ourselves to be is not as concrete as we've been led to think. Most of us walk around carrying a story, an unconscious narrative that defines our limitations, our behaviors, and the way we interpret the world around us. This story is made up of fragments. A childhood memory here, a trauma there, a label we were given, a pattern we inherited. Layer by layer, it becomes our identity. Not because it's inherently true, but because it has been repeated by others, and more importantly, by ourselves. These narratives are like grooves in a record. We play them again and again until they become the soundtrack of our lives. But here's the problem. When you're stuck in the same story, you're confined to the same reality. You look at life through the same emotional lens, attract similar experiences, and reinforce the very identity that's keeping you stuck. But what if you could edit that story? Not erase it or deny it, but consciously rewrite the narrative with awareness and intention? The human brain, after all, doesn't know the difference between an experience you're actually living and one you vividly imagine. That's the door we'll begin to open in this chapter. The ability to reinvent the self, not from fantasy, but from deliberate creation. The ego and the mask of familiarity. The primary gatekeeper of this story-based self is the ego. Not the arrogant, loud caricature we often associate with the word, but the quieter, deeply ingrained operating system that constantly tries to keep you safe through familiarity. The ego isn't your enemy. It's a survival mechanism. Its job is to maintain your sense of identity, even if that identity is filled with pain, scarcity, or limitation. It doesn't care whether you're happy. It cares that you're predictable. The ego thrives on the known, on patterns it can control. So, when you begin to stretch beyond your current self, when you start visualizing a new future, feeling unfamiliar emotions, or disrupting your routine, the ego sounds the alarm. It whispers doubts, stirs up fear, and often recruits the body into rebellion. You might feel unmotivated, anxious, or even physically ill when you try to change. That's not failure. It's feedback. It means you're moving beyond the ego's comfort zone, and that is the necessary tension of transformation. To truly change, you must learn to observe the ego, thank it for its service, and then step past it, not with force, but with presence. You don't need to destroy the ego. You need to become bigger than it. The multidimensional. You. To move beyond the surface self, you have to understand that you are not a singular static identity. You are multidimensional. Just as light behaves as both a wave and a particle, your consciousness exists across multiple planes simultaneously. There's the physical you, the body. There's the psychological you, the mind and emotions. There's the energetic you, the electromagnetic field you project. And then there's the quantum you, the non-local consciousness that exists beyond time and space. Most people are only aware of the first two layers. They see themselves as bodies with brains, shaped by past experiences, reacting to the external world. But the deeper layers are where the true power lies. When you begin to access the energetic and quantum layers of your being, you start influencing reality from the inside out. You're no longer reacting to the world. You're relating to it as a co-creator. This is not a metaphor. Scientific instruments now measure the electromagnetic fields emitted by the heart and brain. Studies show that these fields interact with the environment and influence biological systems, both internally and externally. This means you are not just a receiver of life's conditions. You are a transmitter, capable of tuning into higher frequencies and broadcasting new possibilities into the field of reality. Energy centers and the architecture of emotion. Within the body exists a network of energy centers, known in various traditions as chakras, that regulate different aspects of our physical, emotional, and energetic well-being. These centers are not mystical organs floating in space. They correlate with endocrine glands, nerve plexuses, and organ systems. Each one is associated with specific emotional states, survival functions, and patterns of behavior. For example, the first energy center near the base of the spine governs security and survival. When you're stuck in fear, you're activating this center repeatedly, flooding the body with stress hormones. The second center, in the reproductive region, governs creativity and pleasure, but also guilt and shame when imbalanced. And so it continues up the spine. Personal power in the solar plexus, love in the heart, expression in the throat, vision in the third eye, and spiritual connection in the crown. When these centers are misaligned, when they are dominated by low-frequency emotions like fear, anger, jealousy, or grief, the flow of energy through the body becomes chaotic. You might feel anxious, exhausted, or creatively blocked. But when you begin to tune into each center, bringing elevated emotions like gratitude, compassion, and love, something extraordinary happens. The centers begin to harmonize. The body starts to heal. The brain enters coherence, and the field around you responds in kind. Brain coherence and the symphony of thought. The brain too has its rhythms. Different states of consciousness correspond to different brainwave patterns: beta, alpha, theta, delta, and gamma. Most people spend the majority of their waking life in high beta, a state of heightened stress and fragmented attention. In this state, the brain becomes incoherent, like an orchestra where every instrument plays its own tune. There's no harmony, only noise. But when you enter lower frequency states like alpha and theta, typically achieved through meditation, breath work, or deep focus, the brain begins to synchronize. The two hemispheres communicate. Neural networks fire in harmony. Creativity blooms. Intuition sharpens. You gain access to the subconscious mind, where the deep programs of identity are stored. And with repetition, you can rewire those programs. You begin to install new neural pathways, reinforce new habits of thought, and dissolve the emotional addictions of the past. This is the real magic of brain coherence. It's not just about feeling calm. It's about reclaiming the creative throne of your own mind. Heart coherence and the emotional field. While the brain gets most of the credit, the heart is the true conductor of the body's energy field. It has its own nervous system, its own electromagnetic field, and even its own memory. When you feel elevated emotions, love, gratitude, joy, the heart enters a state of coherence, sending harmonious signals to the brain and body. This, in turn, affects your respiratory system, your immune function, and your perception of reality. Heart coherence is not just a nice feeling. It's a measurable physiological state. It brings the body into balance, the mind into clarity, and the energy field into resonance with higher frequencies. This is why so many meditative practices emphasize feelings of compassion and gratitude, not because they're morally superior, but because they are biologically and energetically transformative. When you live from the heart, you're no longer reacting from fear. You're creating from love, and love is the frequency of creation. Time as a construct, and how to step out of it. To truly become supernatural, you must step outside of the linear concept of time. Most people live in a cause and effect model. Past events cause present emotions, and those emotions influence future outcomes. But in the quantum model, time is not a straight line, it's a field. All potentials exist simultaneously, and your internal state selects which version of reality you tune into. This is why changing your state of being changes your future. When you meditate and feel the emotions of your desired future as if it's already happened, you're not pretending. You're collapsing time. You're creating a new cause in the present that produces an effect in the quantum field. The more you practice this, the more your body begins to believe it's living in that future. And the field responds, not later, but now. This is not wishful thinking. It's vibrational physics. The future is not something you wait for. It's something you embody. Rehearsing the future into being. Mental rehearsal is one of the most powerful tools for transformation. Olympic athletes use it. Neurosurgeons use it. And now you can use it to become the future version of yourself. The brain does not distinguish between real and imagined experiences. It wires them the same way. So when you vividly imagine yourself walking confidently, healing completely, speaking with clarity, or loving without fear, you are literally programming your brain and body into a new state of being. But it must be more than visualization. You must feel it. Emotion is the fuel that drives intention into reality. Without elevated emotion, a thought is just a thought. But with it, that thought becomes a signal to the field, a magnetic imprint of your future self. So take the time to rehearse, see it, feel it, become it. The more you practice this, the less your past defines you, and the more your future pulls you forward. Living from the inside out. The ultimate shift in becoming supernatural is moving from an outside-in model of life to an inside-out one. In the outside-in model, we wait for circumstances to make us feel better. We want the promotion before we feel successful. We want the relationship before we feel love. But in the inside-out model, we generate those states internally, regardless of conditions. And in doing so, we begin to attract experiences that reflect our internal state. It's not magic, it's alignment. When you live from the inside out, you become the cause, not the effect. You are no longer defined by your environment. You are defining it. That's when life starts to feel effortless, not because challenges disappear, but because your identity is no longer anchored in fear. You become someone who trusts life, who radiates coherence, who creates beauty just by being. And in a world desperate for authenticity, your very presence becomes medicine. Chapter 3. The Quantum Field and the Architecture of Possibility. Reality is not fixed, it is fluid. Most people have been conditioned to believe that reality is objective, stable, and consistent across time, that what we see, hear, and touch is real simply because it exists independently of us. But modern quantum physics challenges that belief at its very core. At the subatomic level, particles do not exist in fixed states, but as probabilities, a range of potential outcomes that only collapse into a physical state when observed. This is not abstract theory. It's the strange, yet experimentally confirmed truth of our universe. What this implies is that your very act of observation, your focus, your attention, your intention, can influence the formation of reality. Now imagine the implications if your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are forms of observation, each casting a vote in the quantum field for what becomes real. This field, invisible yet omnipresent, contains infinite versions of you and your life. The healthy you, the abundant you, the inspired you, all exist simultaneously as energetic possibilities, waiting to be selected. To become supernatural, you must learn how to navigate this field, not passively, but as a conscious participant, shaping your destiny through frequency, coherence, and alignment. You are a quantum broadcast tower. Your thoughts are electric, your emotions are magnetic, and together they form an electromagnetic signature that you broadcast into the field. This signal is not metaphorical, it's measurable. The brain emits electromagnetic waves, and the heart's field is even more powerful, extending several feet outside the body. When these signals are coherent, aligned, and elevated, they function like a tuning fork, resonating with similar frequencies in the field. Think of your body as a broadcasting tower. The clearer and stronger your signal, the more precisely you draw matching potentials toward you. But when your thoughts are rooted in fear, lack, or resentment, and your emotions echo the same, you're tuning into low-frequency outcomes. You're broadcasting a signal of the past, and the field reflects that reality back to you. To attract a new future, you must change your signature in the present. You must become the frequency of the future you desire. This doesn't mean faking positivity. It means truly feeling and embodying elevated states like gratitude, compassion, and joy, even when your current reality hasn't yet changed. That is the essence of creative mastery, using your internal world to signal new outcomes before they manifest. The observer effect and your creative power. In the double-slit experiment, one of the most iconic discoveries in quantum physics, particles behave like waves until observed. Then, they snap into a particle. This means the act of observation itself changes the outcome. Applied to your life, this suggests that the way you observe reality, what you expect, focus on, and emotionally invest in, determines how reality materializes around you. If you constantly observe your life through the lens of limitation, your energy reinforces the probability of that limitation becoming real. But if you begin to observe life with the anticipation of change, growth, and newness, feeling the emotions of your desired outcomes before they arrive, you influence the quantum field to collapse those potentials into your physical reality. This is not about denial or escapism. It's about becoming a conscious observer. Every time you meditate, visualize, or practice elevated emotions, you're acting as the observer, influencing the quantum field. The stronger your presence, the more powerfully you collapse possibilities into form. Over time, this becomes a way of life. Less reaction, more creation. Less control, more coherence. You become the observer who chooses rather than the victim who copes. Coherence, the language the field understands. The quantum field doesn't speak English, Spanish, or Mandarin. It doesn't respond to your words, your begging, or even your goals. It responds to frequency, to vibration, to the energetic signal you emit moment by moment. Coherence is the alignment of your thoughts, feelings, and actions with a singular intent. When your mind is focused, your emotions are elevated, and your body is relaxed and present, your entire being becomes a harmonic broadcast. This state is what allows your signal to pierce through the noise of daily chaos and connect with the quantum field in a meaningful way. Most people try to create change from a place of incoherence, thinking one thing, feeling another, doing something entirely different. But when you enter a coherent state, particularly through heart and brain synchronization, you step into alignment with the intelligence of the universe. The field is responsive, but only to clarity. When you emit a mixed signal, you get mixed results. When your signal is pure, when your elevated emotions match your clear intention, creation becomes not only possible, but natural. It becomes a dance between you and the field, a co-creative rhythm of energy and form. The gap between intention and manifestation. One of the greatest frustrations on the path of transformation is the apparent delay between intention and manifestation. You may meditate, visualize, and align your energy, yet see no immediate results in your external world. This gap, the space between seed and sprout, is where most people give up. But the quantum field operates outside of linear time. Just because you don't see immediate evidence doesn't mean change isn't occurring. In fact, the most profound transformations often begin invisibly. the body begins healing. Synchronicities start to line up. Emotional resilience grows. But because we've been conditioned to expect instant gratification, we misread the silence as failure. This is where trust becomes essential. Not blind belief, but embodied knowing. When you truly live as if your future is already here, your actions, emotions, and thoughts align with that future. And the field, responding to your signal, begins orchestrating events and opportunities to match. Think of it like tuning into a new radio station. Just because you can't hear it yet doesn't mean you're not already broadcasting on that frequency. Stay consistent. Stay coherent. The gap will close. The universe is listening. Meditation as quantum tuning meditation is not a spiritual luxury. It is a scientific method of tuning into the quantum field. When done properly, meditation shifts your brainwaves from high beta to alpha and theta, allowing you to access the subconscious mind and quiet the analytical chatter that blocks new potentials. In this state, the body begins to relax, and energy that was previously locked in survival mode becomes available for creation. The key is to move from thinking to feeling, from analyzing to sensing. Begin by focusing on the space around your body, not your body itself, but the energy field it occupies. This external awareness moves you beyond the ego and into the quantum. Then bring your awareness to your intention, not just the thought, but the elevated emotion that accompanies it. Feel it as if it's already real. Let the body experience the future in the present. The more vividly you can imagine and feel, the more you change your electromagnetic signature. And as your signal changes, your life begins to follow suit. Meditation, then, becomes a daily practice of becoming the future self you intend to be, one breath, one moment at a time. Emotional reconditioning, breaking the cycle of the past. Every emotion you feel is a chemical signature that conditions your body into a predictable future. When you feel anger, fear, guilt, or shame repeatedly, your body becomes addicted to those states. You wake up in the morning and reach for your past, not with your thoughts, but with your feelings. That's why change is hard. Your mind may want a new life, but your body is still addicted to the old one. To step into a new future, you must emotionally recondition your body. This means memorizing elevated emotional states, joy, inspiration, gratitude, until they become familiar. At first, your body will resist. It will crave the biochemical rush of old emotions. But if you stay consistent, you begin to break the addiction. You stop identifying with your pain and start embodying your power. Emotional reconditioning isn't about bypassing difficult feelings. It's about replacing them with intentional ones. It's training your body to feel the future before it arrives, so that when it does, it feels like home. The quantum mirror. Life reflects who you are in the quantum field. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. If you approach life from lack, you attract more reasons to feel lack. If you embody wholeness, life reflects abundance. This is the mirror principle of the quantum field. It doesn't judge or withhold. It simply reflects your dominant signal. That's why personal transformation must happen at the level of being, not just doing. You can set goals, repeat affirmations, and work hard. But if your inner state is one of unworthiness or fear, your results will mirror that. True change begins when you shift your identity, not by fixing yourself, but by remembering who you really are. A powerful, creative, connected being capable of influencing matter with mind. When you live from this truth, not just intellectually, but energetically, your life transforms, not gradually, but exponentially. The quantum mirror reflects your new identity with precision, drawing people, situations, and opportunities that resonate with your frequency. You are the place where the field becomes form. Ultimately, the greatest realization is this: you are not separate from the field. You are the field, localized in human form. Your body is not a barrier to consciousness. It is the interface through which consciousness creates. Every thought you think, every feeling you generate, every action you take sends ripples into the infinite web of possibility. You are the place where energy becomes matter, where thought becomes experience, where the invisible becomes visible. When you live from this awareness, you no longer seek power, you embody it. You no longer beg for change, you generate it. You become a living bridge between the known and the unknown, the finite and the infinite. And in doing so, you don't just become supernatural, you return to what you truly are. Chapter 4. The Body as the Mind, Rewiring the Emotional Blueprint, the Subconscious Operating System. Imagine waking up in the morning and automatically replaying 95% of yesterday. You check your phone, feel the same anxieties, remember your to-do list, and start moving through routines so deeply ingrained, they've become unconscious. This isn't just habit, it's your body running the show. Neuroscience now confirms what mystics have taught for centuries. The conscious mind is not the primary driver of our lives. Instead, it's the subconscious, the vast, silent operating system that runs below the surface, shaping our behaviors, responses, and even our biology. The subconscious is the body's domain. It memorizes experiences through emotions and uses them to automate responses. When you've lived through repeated emotional patterns, anger, fear, stress, those chemicals train the body to expect and demand the same feelings. Over time, your body becomes the unconscious mind. You think you're in charge, but your body is reacting to yesterday, generating the same hormonal cocktail and dragging your conscious self into a feedback loop you didn't realize you programmed. This is why change feels so hard. You may want a new life consciously, but your body is addicted to the past emotionally. To truly transform, we must reprogram this operating system at its root, through thoughts that lead to new feelings and feelings that condition new behaviors. Emotions are the record of the past. Our emotions, powerful and deeply felt, do more than color our daily experiences. They crystallize our memories. Every emotionally charged event leaves an imprint on our neurobiology. A moment of heartbreak, fear, or humiliation becomes etched into the brain as a reference point, and the stronger the emotion, the more deeply it's stored. Over time, these emotions become a kind of internal architecture, shaping how we interpret new experiences and respond to challenges. The problem arises when we begin living by these emotions. We relive the same feelings, which then influence our decisions, behaviors, and even beliefs. In essence, our emotions become a script for how life unfolds. If you were hurt years ago and never resolved it, your body might still be bracing for betrayal. If you experienced loss, your nervous system may still be signaling lack. This emotional residue keeps you anchored to the past, recreating familiar scenarios, not because you want them, but because your body expects them. This expectation shapes perception, and perception becomes reality. Unless we release the emotional energy of the past, we cannot create a future different from it. Emotional freedom, then, becomes not just healing, but the very foundation for transformation. The hormonal addictions of survival. When we talk about stress, we're not just speaking of a feeling. We're talking about a physiological cascade that affects every system in the body. In survival mode, the brain signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol and adrenaline. Blood is redirected from the gut and higher brain centers to the muscles, preparing for fight or flight. Heart rate increases. Senses sharpen. This is a brilliant system, designed for short bursts. But when stress becomes chronic, when we live in an unending state of alertness, this system becomes destructive. The body begins to habituate to the chemical rush of survival. It starts craving the adrenaline, associating intensity with normalcy. Many people don't realize they're addicted to stress because it feels like being alive. They thrive on urgency, on crisis, on drama, not realizing that their biology is in a constant state of breakdown. Over time, this addiction leads to exhaustion, anxiety, inflammation, and even disease. But perhaps the most dangerous consequence is that it locks you into the past. Every time you feel stressed in the same way, you reinforce the same neurological and hormonal pathways. You literally become the old self again. To break free, you must wean your body off its dependency on these familiar emotional states and introduce a new biochemical environment, one dominated not by survival, but by creation. The neurochemical signature of identity. Who are you? Most people would respond with a name, a profession, perhaps a personality trait. But underneath those labels lies a more revealing answer. Your identity is your state of being, created through habitual thoughts and emotions. When you think a thought, it sends a signal into the brain. The brain responds by firing neural networks and releasing chemicals that correspond to that thought. Feelings emerge, and those feelings reinforce the original thought. This loop creates a neurochemical signature, a pattern that, when repeated, becomes your default state. Over time, this becomes who you are, not by fate, but by conditioning. If you constantly think and feel like a victim, your body memorizes that identity. If you often feel resentment, self-pity, or powerlessness, those feelings become familiar, and the familiar becomes safe even when it's painful. Changing your identity, therefore, means interrupting this loop. You must become greater than your environment, greater than your emotions, and greater than your habitual thoughts. This is not an act of denial, but of self-reclamation. By consciously choosing elevated thoughts and matching them with empowering emotions, like courage, gratitude, or joy, you begin altering your chemical makeup. And as your internal signature changes, so too does the self you present to the world. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. We often believe that once a painful experience is over, it's behind us. But the body tells a different story. While the mind may rationalize, suppress, or ignore trauma, the body keeps a meticulous record. Somatic memory is real. The cells remember. Muscles tense in familiar patterns. The nervous system stays hypervigilant. Even long after the threat is gone, the physiological response lingers. This explains why certain sounds, smells, or images can trigger deep emotional reactions seemingly out of nowhere. The body isn't reacting to the present, it's remembering the past. And each time this memory is activated, the old self resurfaces. This is why true healing must involve the body, not just the intellect. You cannot think your way out of a trauma that's encoded in your tissues. You must feel it, witness it, and then recondition the body to a new experience. This is where meditation, breathwork, movement, and intentional emotional states become tools for transformation. When you guide the body into elevated states again and again, you overwrite the old emotional patterns. The body begins to trust the new feeling. It softens, it releases, and over time, it forgets the pain. Not because you've buried it deeper, but because you've replaced it with something better: safety, love, peace. Thought alone does not equal change. One of the biggest misconceptions in the realm of personal development is that thought alone is sufficient to create change. While thought is essential, it's the spark that ignites transformation. It is only the beginning. Lasting change requires embodiment. You must feel the thought so deeply that the body believes it's true. This is where most people falter. They say the affirmation, visualize the goal, repeat the mantra, but they do so from a place of intellectual detachment. Their bodies are still in survival, still carrying the emotional signature of the old self. Without the emotional charge, the thought lacks power. It remains an abstract idea, disconnected from action. To bridge the gap, you must teach the body what the mind has learned. You must emotionally marry your intention. When the body begins to feel differently, lighter, more joyful, more empowered, it signals the brain that the change is real. And that's when new neural networks form. That's when the subconscious starts to update. Real transformation happens when the body no longer feels like the past, and the mind no longer obsesses over it. When both body and mind live in the future instead of reacting to the past, you are no longer a prisoner of memory. You are a creator of destiny. Repetition, emotion, and the path to rewiring. If you've ever learned to ride a bike, speak a language, or play an instrument, you understand that mastery comes through repetition. The same principle applies to rewiring the brain and body. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reconfigure itself, doesn't happen from a single thought or fleeting inspiration. It happens through consistent, repeated engagement with new ideas, feelings, and behaviors. But repetition alone is not enough. Emotion is the catalyst. When you combine repetition with high emotional energy, joy, awe, gratitude, you accelerate change. That's why a single powerful meditation can sometimes rewire more than a month of passive repetition. Emotion opens the doorway to the subconscious. It signals to the brain and body that something important is happening. And the brain, ever responsive to significance, begins to prioritize the new pattern. This is why ritual, sacred practice, and intentional living are so effective. They combine repetition and emotion to impress new codes into the mind-body system. Over time, the old neural pathways weaken from disuse, while the new ones strengthen. The old emotional signatures fade, and new ones become dominant. You are not stuck. You are programmable. And the pen is in your hands. The mind-body loop and how to break it. The mind and body exist in a feedback loop, constantly influencing one another. Thoughts trigger emotions, and emotions validate thoughts. It's a dance, but in many people, it becomes a trap. They think of a problem, feel the stress, and then use that stress to justify more anxious thoughts. Breaking the loop requires a disruptive force, consciousness. The moment you become aware of the loop, you introduce a gap. In that gap is choice. You can interrupt the thought. You can breathe through the emotion. You can insert a new signal. This is why mindfulness and meditation are so powerful. Not because they make life easier, but because they give you a lever to shift the cycle. When you train your awareness, you begin to notice the patterns that once controlled you. You start choosing responses instead of reacting automatically. The mind becomes quieter. The body becomes calmer. And over time, the loop that once defined your suffering becomes the source of your freedom. Becoming the new emotional self. True transformation doesn't just change what you do. It changes how you feel. The goal is not to suppress emotion, but to upgrade it. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with curiosity. Instead of defaulting to shame, you move with compassion. This shift happens when you begin to emotionally rehearse the self you want to become. Before the event, before the outcome, you feel the elevated state, love, peace, empowerment. You practice it until it becomes familiar. The brain doesn't know the difference between real and vividly imagined experiences. If you feel it deeply enough, the brain fires as if it's happening now. And the body, obedient to the chemistry of the brain, begins to align. This is how you become the new self, not by waiting for the external world to change, but by changing your internal state first. As your internal environment evolves, the external begins to mirror it. You attract different people, make new choices, and respond to life with grace. And one day, you realize you are no longer trying to be someone else. You are simply being who you truly are. Chapter 5. The Body Electric, Awakening the Energy Centers. Ancient wisdom meets modern science for millennia. Cultures across the world have spoken of energy flowing through the human body. The Chinese call it qi. The yogic traditions speak of prana. The ancient Egyptians depicted it in their symbols, and indigenous shamans have long danced and drummed their way into altered states to align with it. These energy systems were often dismissed by modern Western science as myth or metaphor, until neuroscience and quantum biology began to catch up. Today, we are witnessing a convergence of ancient wisdom and contemporary discovery, a recognition that the body is not merely a collection of organs and tissues, but a finely tuned electrical instrument. Every cell emits electromagnetic fields. Every thought and emotion alters the charge of this biological circuitry. And at the core of this system lie the energy centers, what ancient traditions have long called chakras. Far from being esoteric, these centers are now understood as the nexus points where the endocrine glands, nervous system clusters, and subtle energy fields intersect. When in balance, they enable us to feel grounded, empowered, creative, loving, expressive, insightful, and connected. When blocked, we remain fragmented, spiritually numb, emotionally reactive, and physically unwell. To become supernatural, we must first learn to tune our inner instrument, awakening these dormant centers to become conscious creators of our reality. The first three centers, the domain of survival. At the base of the spine lies the first energy center associated with our most primal instincts, safety, survival, and physical identity. Here, the adrenal glands reign, releasing stress hormones that keep us vigilant. While this center is essential for grounding and stability, many people live trapped here, consumed by fears of not having enough money, shelter, time. Just above it, in the lower abdomen, sits the second center, tied to the reproductive organs and emotional identity. This is the seat of pleasure, desire, and creativity, yet also of guilt and dependency. The third center, located at the solar plexus, governs willpower and self-esteem. It houses the fire of personal power, yet often burns with the toxicity of control, rage, or unworthiness. These lower three centers are vital, but when we operate solely from them, we exist in survival mode. Life becomes a sequence of reactions: defending, competing, lusting, hoarding. The body's energy remains trapped in these lower frequencies, cycling through old patterns of fear, desire, and domination. To evolve beyond the material self, we must move energy upward, away from instinctual survival and into conscious creation. This does not mean ignoring the lower centers, but mastering and integrating them so that their wisdom fuels, rather than dominates, our journey. The heart center, the bridge to elevated states. In the center of the chest lies a transformational gateway, the heart center or fourth chakra. Physiologically, it is linked to the thymus gland, the lungs, and the circulatory system. Energetically, it is the bridge between the material and the mystical. While the lower centers govern doing and surviving, the heart invites us to feel, to connect, and to transcend. It holds the frequencies of compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional love, not the sentimental kind romanticized in films, but a deeper soul-anchored love that heals and harmonizes. When activated, the heart releases a cascade of biochemicals that regulate the immune system, balance the nervous system, and bathe the brain in coherence. Scientists at the HeartMath Institute have measured the electromagnetic field of the heart as thousands of times stronger than that of the brain. This means that when we feel genuine gratitude, appreciation, or joy, we're not just experiencing emotion, we're broadcasting a powerful signal into the quantum field. The heart becomes a tuning fork for reality. However, for many, this center remains closed, armored by past betrayals or trauma. To open it is to risk vulnerability, to surrender the illusion of control. Yet it is precisely this surrender that allows us to access the higher dimensions of ourselves. Only from the heart can we begin to live not as victims of life, but as conscious participants in its unfolding. The fifth and sixth centers, expression and perception. As energy continues its ascent, it moves into the fifth center, the throat, governing expression and communication. This is where thought takes form through language, where inner truth seeks voice in the outer world. When this center is balanced, we speak with authenticity and clarity, aligning our words with our intentions. We no longer speak to impress or manipulate, but to share insight, to uplift, to create resonance. Suppression of this center often results in hesitation, stammering, or even physical issues like thyroid imbalances or chronic throat tension. The act of speaking one's truth is not just emotional release, it is energetic liberation. Just above in the sixth center, the space between the eyebrows, known as the third eye, lies the seat of inner vision. This center correlates with the pineal gland, a tiny but powerful structure often called the spiritual antenna. It produces melatonin, regulates circadian rhythms, and, when activated, emits chemicals that facilitate mystical experiences. This is the realm of insight, intuition, imagination. When awakened, it allows us to perceive beyond the five senses, to see potential futures, to receive inner guidance, to tap into the collective field of knowledge. But to access these higher centers, we must first purify the lower ones. Emotional baggage, unspoken truths, and misaligned desires will block the flow. It is only through honesty, self-reflection, and energetic discipline that the upper gateways begin to open. The crown, portal to the infinite. The seventh and final energy center is the crown, located at the top of the head. This is where the personal dissolves into the universal, where identity expands beyond the body and touches the infinite. It is associated with the pituitary gland and a flood of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, often released during transcendental states. In this center, the boundary between self and cosmos becomes porous. One may experience flashes of oneness, overwhelming peace, or profound downloads of information that feel otherworldly. While many seek to jump directly to this state through psychedelics, extreme meditation, or spiritual bypassing, the truth is that a true crown opening cannot be forced. It unfolds organically as the result of sustained inner alignment. When all other centers are balanced, when the heart is open, the mind quiet, and the body surrendered, energy rises naturally, drawn upward like a magnet. The crown then becomes not an escape from the body, but a celebration of it, a recognition that this physical vessel is a conduit for divine intelligence. To awaken the crown is to live as a bridge between heaven and earth, grounded yet expansive, humble yet empowered. Energy as the language of the soul. One of the most revolutionary ideas in quantum biology is that energy, not matter, is the foundational language of the universe. Our thoughts, feelings, and intentions all carry electromagnetic frequencies. Every organ, every energy center vibrates at a specific rate. Disease, disconnection, and dysfunction arise when these frequencies become incoherent. Healing, therefore, is not just about fixing what's broken. It's about restoring harmony. Practices like breathwork, meditation, sound healing, and energy medicine work not by adding something new, but by clearing blockages and allowing life force to flow freely again. When energy moves, consciousness expands. We begin to feel more connected to ourselves, to others, and to something greater. This shift in perception is not intellectual. It is visceral. We feel lighter, more inspired, more alive. This is the soul speaking through the body, reminding us that we are not just flesh and bone, but luminous beings of frequency and potential. Cultivating coherence. Between mind and body coherence is a state in which all systems of the body, neurological, hormonal, and energetic, are aligned and synchronized. It's a kind of internal symphony where each instrument plays in tune with the others. This state is measurable and deeply restorative. In coherence, the heart rhythm becomes smooth, the brain waves shift into alpha or gamma, and the immune system activates healing responses. More importantly, in this state, we become powerful magnets for change. The quantum field responds to coherence. It interprets our emotional signals and begins to rearrange external circumstances to match our internal state. But coherence is not a one-time event. It's a practice. It requires emotional regulation, mental discipline, and energetic hygiene. Simple rituals like meditating on elevated emotions, breathing in rhythmic patterns, or focusing attention on the heart center can shift us from chaos to coherence. And over time, as this becomes our baseline, we begin living not as reactors to the world, but as co-creators of it. The body becomes a trusted partner, the mind becomes an ally, and the soul finally finds its voice. Techniques to activate the energy centers. Awakening the energy centers is not about forcing or manipulating. It's about creating the conditions in which energy can rise naturally. Begin by sitting in a quiet space, spine upright, attention inward. Focus first on the base of the spine. Inhale deeply, imagining breath as light, and draw it up from the base toward the heart. With each inhale, invite energy upward. With each exhale, surrender tension. As your attention moves through each center, breathe into it. Visualize it opening like a flower and evoke the emotion associated with its balance. Safety at the root, creativity in the sacral, confidence in the solar plexus, love in the heart, truth in the throat, vision in the third eye, and unity at the crown. You can use sound, like chanting or toning, movement, like Kundalini Yoga, or visualization, like spinning wheels or orbs of light, to engage more deeply. The goal is not perfection, but presence. With daily practice, the centers begin to awaken. You may feel tingling, heat, or emotion rise. Trust it. This is energy remembering its path. And as this energy flows freely, your perception will shift. Life will feel more vivid, synchronicities will multiply, and you'll begin to live not from habit, but from harmony. Chapter 6. Tuning into the energy of the future. Breaking free from predictable realities. We live most of our lives tethered to the familiar, repeating patterns that seem so tightly woven into the fabric of our reality that we forget they're of our own design. The past becomes a gravitational force that pulls our attention and energy into predictable futures, recreating circumstances that look and feel strikingly similar to those we've always known. We wake up and recall our to-do list, brush our teeth in the same rhythm, eat the same breakfast, commute to the same job, and engage with the same people in largely the same ways. Every action reinforces a neurological signature. Every thought reactivates an emotional record stored in the body, and every choice becomes a reaffirmation of who we believe we are based on who we've been. This loop, what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls the known, is safe but suffocating. It breeds a sense of limitation, of being trapped in circumstances we can't seem to change. But what if the future wasn't something we stumble into by default, but something we could consciously design? What if the unknown held not chaos, but creative possibility? To tune into the energy of the future, we must unlearn the reflex of predictability and awaken to the truth that reality is not fixed. It is fluid, and our consciousness, our attention, intention, and emotion is the paintbrush with which we color its canvas. The quantum model of possibility. In the classical Newtonian worldview, we are machines in a deterministic universe. Everything operates through cause and effect, where one measurable force pushes another in a linear chain of reactions. But quantum physics shattered that framework. In the quantum realm, Particles exist not as fixed objects, but as waves of potential, probabilities that only collapse into a defined reality when observed. The observer, then, plays a role in shaping what becomes real. This understanding flips everything on its head. It suggests that our future is not etched in stone, but a sea of infinite possibilities waiting to be called forth. Each potential future exists as a frequency, vibrating in the field beyond time and space. When we focus our mind, direct our intention, and feel elevated emotions as if our desired future were already real, we begin to tune into that frequency. The quantum field responds not to what we want, but to who we are being. It reads our vibrational signature, which is the sum total of our thoughts and feelings in the present moment. If we think abundantly, but feel lack, we emit incoherence. But when thought and emotion align, when we not only think wealth, but feel the gratitude of already being abundant, we broadcast a powerful coherent signal into the field. This coherence becomes a magnetic pull, drawing experiences, people, and synchronicities that match our inner state. Mental rehearsal, becoming the future self. Mental rehearsal is not mere daydreaming. It is a neurological act of creation. Olympic athletes have long used visualization to improve performance, but neuroscience shows its applications go far beyond physical skill. When you imagine yourself performing an action, giving a confident speech, starting a business, healing your body, the same neural circuits light up in the brain as if you were physically doing it. With repetition, those circuits strengthen as if the event had already happened. The body begins to believe the future is now. But mental rehearsal must be done with clarity and emotion. It's not enough to vaguely wish for a better life. You must paint the picture in high definition. What does your future self look like? How do you walk, speak, make decisions? What are you feeling in that reality? Pride, freedom, peace? By rehearsing the thoughts, behaviors, and feelings of your future self, you condition your body to the new mind. Over time, this state becomes more familiar than the old self driven by fear and limitation. You are no longer trying to become something. You are being it now. And because your inner reality has shifted, the outer world begins to mirror that shift in astonishing ways. Elevated emotions, fuel for creation. While thought gives direction to our intent, emotion is the fuel that propels it into the field. Yet not all emotions carry the same frequency. Survival emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, are low vibrational and tied to the past. They contract the body's energy, closing the heart and reinforcing separation. Elevated emotions, gratitude, love, inspiration, are expansive. They open the energy centers, especially the heart, and synchronize the brain and body into a state of coherence. Gratitude is particularly potent because it signals to the body and subconscious that the event we desire has already happened. We don't feel thankful for something that hasn't occurred. We feel it because we believe it is real. When we combine clear intention, a mental picture of our desired outcome, with elevated emotion, the feeling of already having it, we create a powerful electromagnetic imprint that the quantum field responds to. Practicing elevated emotions daily, even before our external circumstances change, anchors us to the new timeline we are calling forth. The future doesn't begin when the new job arrives or the illness disappears. It begins the moment we feel differently about who we are. That shift in feeling becomes the beacon that attracts new experiences aligned with our evolved self. Collapsing time through present moment mastery. Most people live by the model of cause and effect. They wait for success to feel empowered, for love to feel worthy, for healing to feel whole. But by living in reaction, they reinforce the time-bound reality of waiting. Becoming supernatural means flipping this model. Instead of waiting for the effect to cause an emotional change, we create the cause by generating the emotion now. This is called causing an effect. When we fully inhabit a state of being aligned with our desired future, emotionally, mentally, energetically, we begin to collapse the timeline between us and that outcome. Time becomes irrelevant because we are already living the reality internally. The field, which exists beyond time and space, does not distinguish between the real and the vividly imagined. It only reads vibration. When that vibration is coherent and sustained, miracles unfold. Synchronicities increase, coincidences accelerate, and what once seemed distant suddenly appears before us with a stunning precision. This is not magic. It's physics aligned with conscious intention. The challenge lies in maintaining that internal state, regardless of what the outer world shows. Faith becomes essential, not blind belief, but a deep knowing that reality is catching up to who we've become. Anchoring into the unknown. The unknown scares the ego because it cannot control or predict it. But the unknown is where all transformation resides. Our old personality, formed from past experiences and emotional memories, will resist this uncertainty, trying to lure us back into the safety of habit. It whispers familiar doubts. This won't work. You're not good enough. You've failed before. These thoughts are not truths. They're echoes of a self that no longer exists. To evolve, we must become comfortable in the mystery. We must learn to love the space between where we are and where we're going. That space, rich with potential, is where the magic happens. Meditative practice becomes crucial here. By sitting in stillness, withdrawing attention from the senses, and surrendering identity to the field, we practice being no body, no thing, no time. In that space, we commune with the divine intelligence that organizes all creation. We tune into the signal of our future, and in doing so, we begin to draw it toward us. It may not unfold as we expect, but it will unfold in alignment with the vibration we consistently emit. From personality to personal reality. Our personal reality is a mirror of our personality, which is composed of how we think, act, and feel. To change our life, we must change ourselves. This may sound simplistic, but it is the key most people overlook. They seek to change their circumstances while clinging to the same thoughts, emotional reactions, and unconscious habits that created them. Real change requires becoming unfamiliar to ourselves. It requires observing our inner dialogue, interrupting autopilot behaviors, and choosing differently. Each time we resist the urge to complain, to react in anger, to indulge in self-doubt, we prune old neurological pathways and make room for the new. Change is uncomfortable precisely because it threatens the known self. But that discomfort is a sign of growth. By consistently embodying our future self, not just in meditation, but in conversation, in decision-making, in the face of challenge, we rewire our brain, recondition our body, and rescript our destiny. Life no longer happens to us. It flows through us as us, in alignment with the version of reality we've chosen to tune into. Daily practices to tune the frequency. To consistently live as your future self, daily practice is non-negotiable. Begin each day not by remembering your problems, but by remembering your vision. Before your feet hit the floor, take a few minutes to connect with the elevated emotions of your future: joy, freedom, gratitude. Visualize your day as your future self would experience it. Throughout the day, become aware of your energy. Are you aligned with your future or relapsing into your past? Use breath to shift your state. Use intention to redirect your focus. At night, review your day. Where did you stay in coherence? Where did you fall back into habit? Celebrate the wins and learn from the slips, not with judgment, but with curiosity and compassion. Over time, these micro-alignments build momentum. They rewire your biology and redefine your identity. You begin to notice different opportunities, attract different people, and make decisions from a place of power rather than fear. This is the embodiment of change, not a single event, but a sustained evolution anchored in daily practice. Chapter 7. The Pineal Gland, gateway to the mystical, the ancient key hidden in the brain's core. Deep within the center of the brain, nestled between the two hemispheres, lies a small pine cone-shaped gland called the pineal gland. Though diminutive in size, its influence and historical significance are enormous. Known since antiquity as the seat of the soul, this gland has been revered by mystics, philosophers, and spiritual practitioners across cultures and eras. The Egyptians portrayed it as the Eye of Horus. Hindu sages depicted it as the third eye or Ajna chakra, and philosophers such as Descartes referred to it as the place where the soul connects to the physical body. It's not difficult to see why. The pineal gland sits at a unique crossroads, bridging the physical and metaphysical, the neurological and the spiritual. But in modern times, its role has been reduced primarily to the regulation of melatonin, the hormone that governs sleep-wake cycles. While this biological function is vital, it barely scratches the surface of what this tiny gland is truly capable of. What ancient wisdom intuitively understood, modern science is only beginning to rediscover. That the pineal gland is not just a regulator of circadian rhythms, but a gateway into higher consciousness. When properly activated, it can serve as an antenna that tunes into frequencies far beyond our ordinary perception. A biological transducer for higher dimensions. From a scientific standpoint, the pineal gland is a photosensitive organ rich in piezoelectric crystals, primarily calcite microcrystals, similar to those found in radio receivers. This means it has the remarkable ability to convert energy from one form into another. Just like a quartz crystal in a watch or a radio oscillator, these crystals in the pineal gland can vibrate when subjected to pressure or electromagnetic stimulation, emitting frequencies in response. This opens the possibility that the pineal gland can act as a transducer between physical signals and higher energetic realities. When we engage in practices like breathwork, focused meditation, or elevated emotional states, we begin to generate pressure in the cerebrospinal fluid, which in turn stimulates the pineal gland. This stimulation activates its piezoelectric properties and causes it to emit coherent electromagnetic signals. But more than just emitting energy, the pineal also receives. It can tune into higher dimensional frequencies that are not visible to the five senses, but are still very real. These include visions, insights, and mystical experiences that transcend ordinary thought. In moments of deep inner stillness, when our brain waves shift into slower, more coherent patterns, the pineal becomes a receiver of light and information from beyond the material world. What we often interpret as flashes of intuition or divine messages may, in fact, be our pineal gland decoding non-ordinary frequencies into meaningful perception. The mechanics of inner alchemy. The activation of the pineal gland is not random. It follows a specific, replicable process rooted in both physiology and energy. It begins with intention, the clear decision to enter the inner world, to transcend the limits of the senses and awaken to a deeper truth. From there, breath becomes the vehicle. By engaging in rhythmic breathing patterns, especially ones that draw cerebrospinal fluid upward along the spine, we create hydraulic pressure that massages the pineal gland from below. Simultaneously, we engage muscles like the perineum and abdomen in subtle contractions that pump this fluid with precision and force. As the fluid moves upward, it passes through the spinal canal and enters the ventricles of the brain, where it bathes and stimulates the pineal. This process also increases electromagnetic activity in the brain, creating a coherent field that facilitates altered states of awareness. With continued practice, this inner alchemy opens the door to profound experiences, spontaneous visions, feelings of cosmic unity, encounters with intelligence or divine presence, and even the perception of being outside time and space. What's fascinating is that these phenomena are not anomalies. They are a natural result of unlocking a dormant capacity within us, one that has always been there, waiting for us to remember how to use it. The pineal gland, when awakened, allows us to peer into the quantum field and experience ourselves as consciousness beyond the confines of flesh. Brainwaves and the tuning of consciousness. Understanding the relationship between brainwaves and pineal activation is essential to grasping how mystical states are accessed. The typical waking state is dominated by beta brainwaves, rapid scattered frequencies associated with stress, decision-making, and sensory overload. In this state, the neocortex is overactive, the body is in survival mode, and the pineal remains largely dormant. But when we close our eyes, slow our breathing, and withdraw attention from the external world, brainwaves begin to shift into alpha, a state of calm, introspective awareness. Deeper meditation leads to even slower waves, theta, associated with dreamlike imagery and deep subconscious insight, and delta, the frequency of deep sleep and bodily regeneration. Between these states lies a window, the realm of gamma waves, that is particularly associated with mystical experiences. Gamma waves are the fastest frequencies the brain produces and are typically generated during moments of profound compassion, unity, or spiritual awakening. During pineal activation, high-amplitude gamma waves surge through the brain, uniting disparate regions into a harmonized whole. The result is a feeling of oneness, timelessness, and transcendent knowing. These aren't just poetic states. They are measurable neurological events that correspond to the activation of latent faculties within the brain. By cultivating a meditation practice that regularly accesses these states, we train the brain to stay in coherence longer and to more easily enter mystical awareness. Vision beyond sight, the inner screen awakens. One of the most powerful effects of pineal activation is the awakening of the mind's eye. The third eye, as it's often called, refers to the ability to see beyond physical sight, to perceive visions, symbols, and archetypal images that carry deep spiritual meaning. When the pineal is dormant, this screen remains dark, and our perception is limited to the five senses. But when the gland is activated through meditation and coherent energy, the inner screen lights up. We begin to experience vivid internal imagery, landscapes, colors, beings, or sacred geometry that feels more real than the outer world. These visions are not hallucinations. They are transmissions from the quantum field, decoded by the pineal into perceptible form. Many report receiving information, teachings, or healing guidance from these inner experiences, often accompanied by a feeling of unconditional love or divine presence. The key is to stay open, curious, and receptive, neither analyzing nor dismissing what appears. In this space, we are no longer bound by linear thinking or logical constraints. We become dreamers in the quantum field, participating in a sacred conversation between soul and source. Detoxifying and reawakening the sacred gland. Unfortunately, in our modern world, the pineal gland is often calcified, weakened by a toxic cocktail of environmental pollutants, fluoride, poor nutrition, and chronic stress. This calcification dulls its sensitivity and diminishes our intuitive capacities. But the good news is that it's never too late to rehabilitate the pineal and restore its full potential. The process begins with purification, removing fluoride from drinking water, reducing processed foods, and introducing a nutrient-rich diet high in antioxidants and minerals like iodine and magnesium. Herbs such as blue lotus, gotu kola, and raw cacao have been traditionally used to nourish the pineal, as have practices like sun gazing, done safely at sunrise or sunset, grounding, and rhythmic chanting. Most importantly, cultivating daily meditation, especially one that includes breathwork, sound, and focus on the pineal area, helps restore vibrancy and coherence. Over time, as the pineal clears, we begin to perceive subtle energies more easily. Our dreams become more vivid, our intuition sharpens, and our emotional resilience increases. We feel connected not just to the cosmos, but to the quiet wisdom within. Living from the mystical, the integration of higher states. Experiencing mystical states is not the end. It is the beginning of a new relationship with reality. Once the pineal is activated and the doors of perception are opened, life is never quite the same. But to truly embody the mystical, we must bring it into our daily actions, choices, and relationships. The goal is not to escape the world, but to see it through new eyes. With the pineal awakened, we begin to perceive synchronicities with greater clarity, feel the presence of the divine in everyday moments, and trust our inner guidance with a newfound certainty. Compassion deepens, ego softens, and creativity expands. We become more aligned with our purpose, not because someone told us what it is, but because we feel it echoing from the core of our being. And in this space, fear begins to dissolve. We understand that we are part of something vast and intelligent, a field that supports our growth, our healing, and our evolution. The mystical, then, is not a weekend retreat or a one-time vision. It is a way of living, of being, of creating from the space beyond form. The pineal gland becomes not just a key to personal transformation, but a doorway to a collective awakening where we recognize ourselves in each other and in the infinite. Chapter 8. Heart Intelligence, the Electromagnetic Signature of Emotion. The heart, more than a pump, a portal for centuries, the heart was thought to be nothing more than a biological pump, efficient, tireless, and mechanical. It was praised for its strength, but not necessarily for its intelligence. However, modern discoveries have shattered this reductionist view, revealing a far more complex and profound reality. The heart is, in fact, a sensory organ with its own form of intelligence, one that communicates with the brain and the body in powerful, dynamic ways. Research from the HeartMath Institute has shown that the heart contains an intricate network of neurons and neurotransmitters, enabling it to send signals to the brain that influence perception, decision-making, and emotional regulation. This communication is not one-directional. In fact, the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. This discovery reaffirms what ancient cultures have long believed. The heart is the seat of wisdom, intuition, and inner knowing. But even more astonishing is the discovery that the heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field of any organ in the body, up to 60 times more powerful than that of the brain. This field radiates outward from the body in all directions and can be measured several feet away. It is constantly broadcasting the energetic signature of our emotional state, influencing not only our biology, but the environment and people around us. Coherence, the language of harmony. In a world saturated with noise, speed, and fragmentation, coherence stands out as a harmonizing force. Coherence refers to the orderly and synchronized functioning of various systems in the body, especially between the heart and brain. When we experience emotions like gratitude, compassion, or appreciation, our heart rhythm becomes smooth and harmonious. These rhythms, known as heart rate variability, HRV, are a direct reflection of our emotional and mental states. Coherence isn't about a flat or steady heartbeat. It's about a rhythmic ebb and flow, a wave-like pattern that indicates balance and integration. This state has profound effects on our physiology. Cortisol levels decrease, immune function improves, and cognitive clarity increases. In contrast, emotions like anger, fear, or anxiety create jagged, erratic heart rhythms that disrupt communication between the brain and heart, leading to stress, confusion, and disconnection. But coherence is not just a physical phenomenon. It's an energetic one. When our heart enters a state of coherence, its electromagnetic field becomes more organized, broadcasting a signal of stability and alignment into the quantum field. In this state, we become magnetic to possibilities that match the energy of love, unity, and trust. Practicing heart coherence regularly allows us to tune our body systems into resonance with higher order and intelligence, changing not just how we feel, but how reality responds to us. Emotions as frequencies. Tuning the human antenna. Every emotion we feel emits a frequency, much like a musical note. Joy, gratitude, and love are high-frequency states, while guilt, shame, and fear vibrate at lower frequencies. These emotional frequencies are not confined to our bodies. They radiate outward through our heart's electromagnetic field, interacting with the quantum field and influencing what we draw into our lives. When we maintain high-frequency emotions consistently, we become like tuning forks for experiences that match our energetic state. Our reality begins to shift, not through force or willpower, but through resonance. This is why emotional mastery is essential in the process of becoming supernatural. It's not enough to think positively while feeling unworthy or afraid. The quantum field responds to the signal of the heart more than the thoughts of the mind. Coherence between thought and emotion is the key to manifestation. When we align elevated emotions with clear intentions, we create a powerful broadcast signal that magnetizes new outcomes. The heart becomes the amplifier for the brain's vision, and the two together form a coherent signal that the field cannot ignore. By learning to regulate our emotions, not by suppressing them, but by observing and choosing them consciously, we take control of the energy we emit, and therefore, the experiences we attract. Heart-brain synchronization, wiring a new reality. The bridge between heart and brain is built through practice. The two primary methods are breath and awareness. By slowing our breathing and focusing attention on the area around the heart, we initiate a shift in our physiology. This conscious focus causes the vagus nerve to activate, signaling safety and calm to the body. Within moments, the heart rhythm begins to smooth out and coherence takes hold. As this happens, the brain receives signals of harmony and begins to mirror the pattern of the heart. The result is a feedback loop of coherence, a synergy that improves decision-making, creativity, and emotional resilience. In this state, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of higher reasoning, becomes more active, while the limbic system, responsible for fear and emotional reactivity, quietly steps back. We become less reactive, more centered, and more capable of choosing how to respond rather than being swept away by impulse. Regular practice of heart-brain coherence rewires neural pathways, strengthening the networks responsible for empathy, compassion, and inner stability. Over time, this new wiring becomes our baseline, and our identity shifts from one of survival to one of creation. We begin to experience life not as something happening to us, but as something we are actively shaping with our energy and awareness. The heart as a magnet, attracting through emotion. There is a direct relationship between emotional energy and the outcomes we experience in our lives. This is not magical thinking. It is quantum physics. The electromagnetic field generated by the heart acts as a signal that the quantum field interprets and responds to. When this signal is infused with elevated emotions and clear intention, it becomes coherent and focused, much like a laser. A scattered, incoherent signal driven by doubt or conflicting emotions produces unpredictable or delayed results. But a coherent, unified signal broadcasts a strong message to the field. This is who I am, and this is what I'm creating. As we consistently generate this signal, the field begins to organize experiences, people, and synchronicities that match it. Life begins to unfold in seemingly miraculous ways, not because we've manipulated it, but because we've aligned with it. This is the heart of manifestation, the union of elevated emotion and clear vision, radiated into the field through a coherent heart. The heart becomes the engine of creation, generating the emotional energy that fuels our future. And because this energy is measurable and magnetic, it affects not only our own reality, but the realities of those around us. We uplift environments simply by being coherent. This is the true power of living from the heart, not just personal transformation, but collective evolution. Training the heart, practices of coherence. Cultivating heart coherence is both art and science, and it begins with a few simple, powerful practices. The first step is heart-focused breathing. This involves slowing the breath to a rhythmic cycle, typically 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, while placing attention on the heart. As we do this, we anchor our awareness in the present moment and create the physiological conditions for coherence. The next step is generating an elevated emotion: gratitude, compassion, love, or appreciation. These emotions are not random. They are the natural language of the heart. As we feel these emotions deeply and sincerely, the heart's rhythm becomes more coherent and its electromagnetic field expands. Over time, we can layer these emotions with intention, imagining a desired outcome or future reality while maintaining the feeling of gratitude or love. This practice trains the body to experience the future in the present moment, priming it for the manifestation of that future. We become, in essence, the cause of our future, rather than the effect of our past. With consistency, these practices create a new baseline of coherence, transforming not just moments, but the entire quality of our lives. Coherence as a way of life. Heart coherence is not something to be practiced only during meditation or stressful moments. It is a state of being that we can carry into every aspect of our lives. When we wake up with intention, breathe through challenges with awareness, and respond to the world with compassion rather than reaction, we are living in coherence. This doesn't mean we never feel frustration or sadness. Rather, it means we don't become those emotions. We learn to observe them, transmute them, and return to center. Living in heart coherence also means recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. Our emotional state influences our family, our workplace, our community, and even the collective consciousness. Every coherent thought, every loving response, every moment of compassion ripples into the field and creates space for others to do the same. This is how transformation spreads, not through force, but through resonance. The more we embody coherence, the more we inspire it in others. In this way, we become agents of change, not by preaching, but by being, a living demonstration of what's possible when we live from the intelligence of the heart. Chapter 9: Emotions, Time, and Quantum Liberation. The emotional past, how feelings anchor us in time. We often think of the past as something that lives only in memory, a series of events archived like old photographs in the attic of the mind. But in truth, the past isn't passive. It is active, alive, and constantly influencing us, not because of the events themselves, but because of the emotional imprints they leave behind. Emotions are the glue that binds us to time. When we experience a significant event, especially one charged with intense emotion, our body records not just the facts of what happened, but how it felt. If those emotions are unresolved or unprocessed, they become embedded in our biology. The body doesn't distinguish between an actual event and the memory of that event if the emotional response is the same. So, when we recall a betrayal, a loss, or a trauma, and feel the same sorrow, resentment, or fear, we are reliving the past chemically in the present moment. In essence, the body becomes the subconscious mind's timekeeper, storing emotional experiences as physiological states that we unknowingly repeat day after day. our identity becomes anchored to who we were, rather than who we want to be, and we fall into unconscious patterns of thought and behavior driven by the body's addiction to familiar emotions. Without even realizing it, we begin each new day emotionally tethered to a yesterday that is no longer here. The habitual self, when the body becomes the mind. Over time, emotional repetition conditions the body to expect and even crave certain feelings, creating a feedback loop between mind and body. The more we revisit these emotional memories, the more the brain fires in familiar patterns, and the more the body chemically aligns with those emotions. Eventually, the body begins to anticipate the feelings, even without a triggering thought. This is when the body has memorized the emotional state better than the conscious mind. It's as if your biology has become your biography. You might say, I want to change? But if your body wakes up every morning expecting the same emotional cocktail of stress, worry, guilt, or sadness, then your intentions are overpowered by the body's need for emotional consistency. The past becomes not just something you remember, but something you live. And because the quantum field responds not to what we want, but to who we are being, we end up creating a future that looks very much like the past. Our thoughts may be reaching forward, but our emotions are reaching backward. And it is the emotion that holds the energetic signature. This internal misalignment keeps us in a predictable timeline, a life looped around the gravitational pull of unresolved emotion. Until we address the emotional conditioning of the body, we remain imprisoned by our personal history. Time as an emotion, why the future never arrives. We often speak of time as a linear sequence, past, present, and future. But in the quantum model, time is not fixed. It is fluid, multidimensional, and nonlinear. What we call the future is not a place we go. It is a potential we pull toward us based on the energy we emit, and our energy is most heavily influenced by emotion. If we carry the same emotional signature day after day, anchored in the feelings of past experiences, then we are energetically aligned with a timeline that mirrors those emotions. We may say we desire abundance, but if our dominant emotional state is fear of lack, we are aligning with a future of scarcity. We may visualize love, but if we feel unworthy or mistrustful, we are attuned to timelines where love cannot land. In this way, time becomes an emotional dimension. Our future is determined not by what we imagine, but by what we feel most consistently. The challenge is that most people try to create new outcomes while dragging the baggage of the old self along with them. They attempt to step into a new timeline with the emotional frequency of the past, and then wonder why nothing changes. To truly shift timelines, we must first shift emotions. We must liberate the body from the biochemical patterns of the past and teach it how to feel the future. Now, breaking the habit of being yourself. This is the heart of transformation, becoming no one, going nowhere, doing nothing, and in that space, becoming infinite. When we sit in meditation and begin the inner work of change, we are stepping out of time. We are saying, I will no longer allow the memory of who I have been to dictate who I am becoming. But this is not a mental exercise. It is an emotional one. The body, conditioned to past emotional states, will resist. It will cry out for the familiar chemical cocktails it associates with safety and identity. It will create thoughts of urgency, boredom, restlessness, and self-doubt, not because these thoughts are true, but because the body is addicted to the emotions they create. And so, the work begins. To sit in presence, to observe these urges without reacting, and to gently remind the body that it is safe in the unknown. Over time, as the mind and body return to balance, something extraordinary begins to happen. The old self loses its grip. The identity built around survival, reaction, and emotional dependency begins to dissolve. In its place arises the quantum self, undefined, unlimited, and unattached to time. This is the sacred space of creation. It is here, in this timeless state of being, that new futures become accessible. The less we identify with the past, the more available we become to possibilities that have never been before. Emotional alchemy, transmuting the past. To evolve, we must learn to alchemize our emotions, to transform dense, limiting feelings into elevated, liberating ones. This is not about denial or suppression. It is about transmutation. When we bring awareness to a recurring emotional pattern, say, a deep sadness rooted in abandonment, we create a space between stimulus and response. In that space, we can choose a new emotion, not by pretending the old one doesn't exist, but by introducing a higher frequency into the field. For example, we can begin to overlay the sadness with compassion for ourselves, appreciation for our resilience, or gratitude for the lesson embedded in the experience. As we practice this emotional replacement, the body begins to adapt. New neural pathways form. New chemicals are released. The emotional imprint of the past weakens, and a new emotional signature takes its place. Over time, the memory of the past remains, but its emotional charge is gone. It no longer anchors us to a previous timeline, and we are free to align with new futures. This process requires courage, consistency, and a deep willingness to feel, to truly sit with what is without judgment until it reveals what it's ready to become. It is not easy, but it is sacred work. In doing it, we reclaim our energy from the past and invest it in the life we are consciously creating. Living beyond time, presence as power. The present moment is the portal to all possibilities. When we bring our full awareness to now, not mentally but emotionally, we step outside the construct of linear time. We disconnect from the pull of yesterday and the projection of tomorrow and enter a space where creation is immediate and potent. In this state, we no longer rely on external circumstances to dictate how we feel. Instead, we generate the emotion of the future we desire and allow that emotion to define the now. This is how we collapse time, by experiencing the feeling of the future before it arrives. The quantum field does not differentiate between a memory and a vision, only between incoherence and coherence. When our internal state becomes so coherent, so attuned to the vibration of what we seek, we draw it to us as if by gravity. This is not metaphysical poetry. It is measurable science. It is a shift from cause and effect to causing and effect. From waiting for change to becoming the change. In this state of empowered presence, we become sovereign creators of our timeline. The past no longer pulls us. The future no longer intimidates us. We live as the unified field of possibility embodied, and from this place, anything can unfold. Chapter 10. Aligning with the Divine, Tuning into Universal Intelligence. The field beyond the self, recognizing the intelligence of the whole. There comes a point in the journey of self-transformation when one begins to realize that the forces shaping reality extend far beyond personal willpower, intellect, or psychological effort. This is the moment where the personal self meets the universal self, and we begin to sense a field of intelligence that operates beyond what the ego can comprehend. Modern science has started to echo what ancient mystics and sages have long proclaimed, that the universe is not a machine, cold and indifferent, but an intelligent, interconnected web where consciousness plays a central role in the unfolding of matter and experience. This field, what we might call the quantum field, divine intelligence, or source consciousness, responds not to the words we speak, but to the vibration we emit. When we step into coherence, emotionally and energetically, we are not merely aligning with a future, we are syncing up with an intelligence that orchestrates the dance of creation itself. This is the intelligence that gives birth to stars, guides the migration of birds, and beats your heart without you thinking about it. To tune into it is not to abandon personal growth, but to transcend the limited self and partner with a higher power that already knows how to get you where your soul longs to go. The frequency of trust, moving beyond control. Most people approach change through control. They make lists, set goals, chart timelines, and push themselves through mental effort and physical action. While these tools can be useful, they are rooted in the Newtonian model of reality, a reality where matter moves matter, where change takes time and effort. But the quantum model operates differently. In the quantum realm, reality responds to frequency. The more coherent your inner state, the more aligned you become with the rhythms of this universal intelligence. However, coherence cannot be forced. It must be cultivated through trust. And trust, for many, is the most radical act of all. It means letting go of the need to know how or when your desires will manifest. It means surrendering your timelines, releasing control, and learning to live in the space between intention and outcome. This space is deeply uncomfortable for the ego, which thrives on prediction and security. But it is in this very discomfort that transformation occurs. When you declare a vision and then rest in trust, not apathy, but deep, receptive surrender, you create the conditions for the divine intelligence of the universe to orchestrate outcomes far beyond what you could construct through effort alone. This is not passivity. It is conscious collaboration. It is an invitation to live in a state of inspired being, rather than relentless doing. Invoking the sacred, creating with elevated emotions. If thought is the electrical signal we send out into the field, then emotion is the magnetic force that draws experiences back to us. Thoughts alone do not manifest reality. Only when they are fused with emotion do they gain creative momentum. And not just any emotion. To connect with divine intelligence, we must elevate our emotional state beyond the mundane frequencies of fear, doubt, and frustration. We must invoke gratitude, love, joy, inspiration, and reverence, emotions that carry the signature of wholeness and expansion. These are not just feel-good states. They are spiritual technologies that alter the energetic imprint we send into the field. When you sit in stillness and flood your body with the feeling of love for life, even before life gives you a reason to feel it, you are no longer reacting to the conditions of your past. You are generating a future. You are becoming a new signal. And the divine intelligence that permeates the quantum field recognizes this signal because it is born of the same frequency. The key is to make these emotional states your new baseline, not through willpower, but through daily practice. As you condition your body to feel these elevated emotions consistently, you create a new internal environment that invites new external outcomes. Over time, life begins to reflect your inner coherence with synchronicities, opportunities, and manifestations that feel orchestrated by something far greater than coincidence. Surrender and selection, the paradox of choice. One of the great paradoxes of spiritual creation is that you must both choose and surrender. At first glance, these seem contradictory. How can you have a clear intention while simultaneously letting go of the outcome? The answer lies in understanding the distinction between desire and attachment. When you declare a vision, whether it's healing your body, attracting a new relationship, or expanding your life's purpose, you are selecting a possibility from the quantum field. You are aligning with a specific timeline. This is the act of intention. But once the vision is clear and the feeling is embodied, you must release it. You must resist the urge to constantly check if it's working or to micromanage the unfolding. Attachment clings to form. Trust allows flow. Surrender is not the absence of desire. It is the absence of desperation. It is a deep knowing that once your signal is coherent and your vibration consistent, the quantum field is already responding. The divine intelligence does not operate on human deadlines or calendars. It works through resonance. And sometimes, What you think you want is only a stepping stone to something far greater that your limited perspective cannot yet perceive. When you learn to hold your vision with reverence and your outcome with openness, you begin to dance with creation rather than wrestle it into submission. This is the sweet spot where miracles happen. The daily dialogue, communing with the field, living in alignment with divine intelligence, is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. Just as relationships require time, attention, and communication to thrive, so does your connection with the quantum field. The difference is that this relationship begins within. Each time you sit in stillness, enter the space of no time, and connect with elevated emotions, you are communing with the field. You are not just meditating, you are having a conversation with the mind of the universe. And the universe is always listening, always responding, not to your words, but to your frequency. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. It is better to connect for 10 minutes each day with full presence than to meditate for an hour once a week in distraction. Over time, you will begin to notice that the field speaks back, not in language, but in intuition, signs, synchronicities, and gentle nudges. You'll feel guided, not pushed, aligned, not driven. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, not through planning, but through presence. The more you show up for this daily dialogue, the more the line between you and the field begins to blur. You stop seeing divine intelligence as something separate from you and begin to experience it as something you are, always have been, and always will be. The signature of the soul, becoming a living prayer. Ultimately, the journey of aligning with divine intelligence leads to a profound realization. You are not just a fragment of this vast universal mind. You are an expression of it. Your life is not a problem to be solved, but a canvas for consciousness to experience itself. Every time you transcend your limited identity, every time you choose love over fear, trust over control, coherence over chaos, you are allowing the universe to know itself through you. This is what it means to become a living prayer. Not someone who begs the divine for change, but someone who embodies the change they seek. Someone who walks through the world as an open channel for grace, radiating an energy so coherent that it elevates everyone they encounter. This is not about perfection. It is about presence, about being so grounded in your connection to the divine that your very being becomes a transmission. When you live this way, you stop chasing miracles and start becoming one. And the beautiful irony is, the more you embody this truth, the more effortlessly life begins to flow. Opportunities appear, healing accelerates, relationships deepen. Not because you forced them, but because you remembered who you truly are. An extension of divine intelligence, capable of creating a life that is nothing short of supernatural. Chapter 11. Heart-Mind Coherence, Tapping into the Biofield of Intelligence. The electromagnetic signature of the heart. Most people believe that the brain is the command center of the body, the sovereign ruler over thoughts, decisions, and bodily responses. And while the brain certainly plays a significant role in our experience of consciousness, there is a growing body of evidence suggesting that the heart, long dismissed as merely a pump, may actually be the conductor of a much deeper intelligence. The heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field in the body, up to 60 times greater in amplitude than the field emitted by the brain. This field radiates outward from the chest in a toroidal shape, touching every cell in the body and extending several feet beyond the skin's surface. When we are in a state of stress, fear, or frustration, the heart's rhythm becomes erratic and disordered. But when we feel emotions such as love, gratitude, and appreciation, the heart enters into a coherent rhythm, a smooth, harmonious pattern that reflects balance and resilience. This heart coherence does not just affect the cardiovascular system. It sends signals to the brain, changing our thoughts, perceptions, and even the chemistry of our bodies. What we feel in the heart literally changes what we think in the brain. It is this dynamic conversation that allows us to tune into a higher form of intelligence, one that integrates feeling and thought, intuition and logic, biology and consciousness. The science of coherence, bridging the gap between physiology and consciousness. Understanding coherence is not just about spiritual alignment. It's about measurable biological shifts that create the foundation for transformation. Coherence in scientific terms refers to the ordered, stable relationship between the heart, brain, and nervous system. Through tools like heart rate variability, HRV, scientists can now observe how emotional states influence physiological rhythms. When we enter into a state of elevated emotion, particularly sustained gratitude or compassion, our HRV becomes more synchronized, and the heart sends coherent signals to the brain. These signals shift the brain out of survival mode, reducing the dominance of the stress-based beta brainwaves and facilitating access to alpha and theta states, which are associated with creativity, intuition, and subconscious programming. Coherence also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, helping the body to rest, digest, and heal. But more than just promoting well-being, coherence creates the ideal internal environment for reprogramming beliefs and accessing the quantum field. When the body is in sync and the mind is quiet, we can shift out of familiar emotional patterns and into a state of open awareness, a space where transformation is not only possible, but inevitable. In this way, coherence is both a physiological phenomenon and a gateway to the mystical, creating the coherent state from thinking to feeling to being. Entering a state of coherence is not something that happens by accident. It is a deliberate choice, one that requires awareness, intention, and practice. The process begins with focus. By gently directing attention to the center of the chest and imagining the breath moving in and out through the heart, we signal the body to slow down and center itself. This act alone can begin to shift us out of stress and into presence. But the real key lies in the emotion we choose to cultivate. Once our attention is anchored in the heart space, we can begin to summon elevated emotions, not as a mental exercise, but as an embodied experience. Gratitude is one of the most powerful entry points because it is the feeling of receiving something before it arrives. When we can genuinely feel thankful for a future that hasn't yet happened, we are signaling to the quantum field that it already exists. We are aligning with the frequency of the outcome we desire. As we deepen into this emotional state, our energy becomes coherent. Our brain and heart enter into resonance, and the body relaxes into trust. With continued practice, this state of being becomes familiar, and eventually, it becomes our new baseline. No longer trapped in cycles of fear, anxiety, or limitation, we begin to embody the future we once only imagined. Living in alignment, heart-centered decision-making. Most decisions in modern life are made through the mind, through logic, analysis, and often fear-based projections of what might go wrong. But the heart offers a different kind of guidance, one that emerges not from the intellect, but from inner knowing. This intuitive intelligence is not irrational. In fact, it is deeply attuned to what is most authentic and aligned for us. When the heart and brain are coherent, communication between the two increases and intuition becomes more accessible. We begin to notice subtle signals, gut feelings, energetic nudges, or inner clarity that guide us toward choices that feel expansive rather than constrictive. Over time, we start to trust this inner compass more than external validation or societal expectations. We move through life with greater ease because we are no longer second-guessing ourselves or outsourcing our power. We become more emotionally intelligent, responding rather than reacting, and cultivating relationships rooted in empathy and resonance. When our inner state is coherent, the world around us begins to reflect that order. We attract opportunities that match our vibrational signature and create experiences that align with our highest potential. This is not magic, it is resonance. And when we live in coherence, we are no longer pushing against life. We are flowing with the deeper current of who we are meant to be. The global heart, the collective power of coherence. While heart coherence transforms the individual, its impact does not end there. Because the heart emits an electromagnetic field that extends beyond the body, our emotional states affect not only ourselves, but those around us. When a person enters a state of sustained coherence, their field becomes a tuning fork for others, influencing the environment in ways that are often subtle but profound. Studies conducted by the HeartMath Institute suggest that when groups of people come together to cultivate coherence, especially with shared intention, their collective energy can influence larger fields. In some experiments, coherent group meditation has been linked to reductions in crime rates, increased social harmony, and even shifts in planetary magnetic fields. This points to a stunning possibility that we are not separate beings, isolated in our individual minds, but nodes in a vast web of interconnected energy. When we raise our own coherence, we contribute to the coherence of the whole. In this sense, personal transformation is not a selfish act, it is a gift to the collective. As more people awaken to this truth, we begin to see the emergence of a new kind of humanity, one that is not driven by fear or separation, but by love, unity, and resonance. Each heartbeat, each moment of gratitude, each breath of intention contributes to the birth of this new world. Coherence as a daily practice. Sustaining the signal. Awakening heart coherence is not about achieving a one-time mystical experience. It is about building a sustainable lifestyle rooted in presence and intention. This means making coherence a daily ritual, something as habitual as brushing your teeth or checking your phone. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day of heart-focused breathing and elevated emotion can create measurable shifts in your biology and energy. Over time, you will begin to notice that you are less reactive, more centered, and more in tune with the flow of life. Challenges still arise, but they do not knock you off course as easily because your nervous system has been trained in resilience. Your body begins to trust you again, and your energy becomes more magnetic. And as your baseline state becomes more coherent, your manifestations accelerate. Not because you are forcing outcomes, but because you are becoming a vibrational match for what you seek. This is the paradox. The more you focus on your inner state, the more the outer world aligns. Eventually, coherence is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are, a state of being that radiates through every interaction, every intention, and every cell of your body. And in that state, you no longer chase transformation. You become the field in which transformation naturally unfolds. Chapter 12. Rewriting the Past, Rewiring the Brain, the Science of Emotional Liberation, the Power of Emotional Memory. The concept of emotional memory is at the core of understanding how we carry the past into our present moment. Every experience we have, every encounter, every emotional reaction to an event leaves an imprint on the brain, body, and energy field. These emotional memories are not just recollections of what has happened. They are the energetic blueprints that shape how we interact with the world and how the world responds to us. Over time, these emotional patterns become entrenched in the subconscious, forming habits, behaviors, and even physical conditions. The brain's neuroplasticity, the ability to change and reorganize itself, means that these patterns are not fixed. They can be rewired. However, rewiring the brain requires us to confront the emotional memories that hold us in a repetitive cycle of stress, fear, and limitation. When we bring these emotional memories to the surface with awareness and intention, we can begin to dissolve their hold over us, creating space for new possibilities to emerge. This is the process of emotional liberation, taking ownership of the memories that have shaped us, transforming them from wounds into wisdom, and allowing the brain to reorganize and adapt to a new story. The brain and its emotional wiring. The brain is not merely a processing center for thoughts. It is a deeply emotional organ that responds to experience in a way that influences not only our psychology, but also our physiology. When we experience intense emotions, the brain releases neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, cortisol, and adrenaline that influence how we think, feel, and even move. If you've ever felt your heart race when stressed or experienced a sudden rush of joy when something wonderful happens, you've felt these chemicals in action. But here's the catch. These chemicals don't just disappear. The brain and body form a loop, a cycle of emotion and response that reinforces itself over time. This emotional circuitry becomes so ingrained that we often act from unconscious emotional memory rather than conscious intention. For instance, when we experience a traumatic event, the brain tags that memory with strong emotional markers, fear, sadness, anger, and stores it in our neural network. Each time a similar event occurs, the brain automatically pulls from that memory, triggering the same emotional responses. This emotional programming governs not only how we react to external events, but also how we see ourselves, others, and the world. The good news is that this wiring is not set in stone. Through conscious effort, we can retrain the brain, reprogramming it to respond differently to past events and present triggers. The key is not to suppress or ignore the past, but to consciously rewrite the narrative that underlies it. The role of the subconscious in emotional healing. Much of the emotional baggage we carry is stored in the subconscious mind, which controls approximately 95% of our daily thoughts, behaviors, and actions. The subconscious mind is a repository of past experiences, beliefs, and emotions that we often aren't aware of, but that continue to influence our lives. If you've ever found yourself reacting to a situation in a way that seems disproportionate or irrational, it is often because your subconscious mind is pulling from past emotional memories that you've long since forgotten. These emotional residues, stored in the subconscious, shape our present reality by dictating how we respond to new experiences. When we revisit these emotional memories with awareness, we are able to release the charge they hold over us. This is not about reliving the pain, but about revisiting the emotions attached to those experiences in order to free them. Once we bring these emotions into conscious awareness, we can begin to consciously choose how we want to respond to them, rather than letting them unconsciously dictate our behavior. This process of bringing unconscious emotional memories into conscious awareness is the first step in rewiring the brain. It allows us to release the old programming and create new pathways that are aligned with who we truly are and who we are becoming. Neuroplasticity and emotional reprogramming. The science of neuroplasticity has shown us that the brain is not a static organ. Rather, it is highly malleable and capable of changing its structure in response to new experiences. This means that the neural pathways formed through past emotional experiences are not permanent. Through conscious effort, we can form new connections and create new patterns of thought and behavior. This is especially important when it comes to emotional healing. If we can consciously engage in practices that promote emotional coherence, such as meditation, visualization, and emotional release techniques, we can create new neural circuits that support healthier emotional responses. For instance, if we've experienced trauma, the brain may have formed neural pathways associated with fear and anxiety. But through neuroplasticity, we can create new pathways associated with calmness, safety, and peace. This requires consistent practice, repeating new emotional experiences and reinforcing them over time until they become the new default. As these new pathways strengthen, the old emotional patterns begin to fade, allowing us to create a new emotional reality. This is the power of emotional reprogramming, the ability to consciously choose the emotional states that will shape our future, rather than unconsciously reacting from the past. Healing the body through emotional release. Emotions are not just stored in the mind, they are stored in the body as well. When we experience intense emotions, the energy from those emotions can become trapped in the body, creating tension, discomfort, and even illness. This is why emotional healing is often a somatic process, a process that involves releasing the physical tension and energy that are tied to our emotional experiences. One of the most powerful ways to release emotional blockages is through body-centered practices such as breathwork, yoga, or massage. These practices help to release the stored emotional energy in the body, allowing it to be processed and released. But emotional release doesn't only happen through physical movement. It also happens through emotional expression. Crying, laughing, or even screaming can be powerful ways to release trapped emotions. In addition to releasing tension, emotional expression helps to integrate the emotions into our conscious awareness, allowing us to heal on a deeper level. As we begin to release these trapped emotions, we create space for healing to occur on both a mental and physical level. This process of emotional release helps to restore balance to the body's energy field and enables the body to return to a state of health and vitality. Creating a new emotional blueprint. Once we have begun the process of emotional liberation, by bringing unconscious memories into awareness, rewiring the brain, and releasing trapped emotions, we are ready to create a new emotional blueprint. This new blueprint is the foundation for our future reality. It is the emotional template that will guide our thoughts, actions, and experiences moving forward. To create this new blueprint, we must begin by imagining the emotional states we want to embody. What does it feel like to live with inner peace, joy, love, and gratitude? What emotions would you experience if you were living the life of your dreams? By vividly imagining these emotional states, we begin to program our bodies and brains to respond in alignment with this new reality. Visualization, affirmation, and emotional embodiment practices can help reinforce this new blueprint. Over time, as we consistently choose to feel these elevated emotions, they become ingrained in our neural circuitry and energy field. This is how we create a new emotional reality, one that is not governed by past pain and trauma, but by the elevated emotions that will lead us to our highest potential. The more we embody this new emotional state, the more it becomes our new default. And as our emotional blueprint changes, our external reality begins to shift to match it. The science of emotional liberation, from survival to creation. At the core of emotional liberation is the shift from survival to creation. Most of us have lived much of our lives in a state of survival, driven by fear, anxiety, and a constant need to protect ourselves from past pain. But survival mode is a low-frequency state. It keeps us trapped in the past, constantly reacting to old wounds. When we liberate ourselves from this cycle, we can shift into a state of creation. In this state, we are no longer driven by fear or survival instincts. Instead, we are guided by inspiration, intuition, and the elevated emotions that align us with our higher purpose. This shift is not just psychological, it is physiological. The brain and body go from a state of fight or flight to one of rest and digest, from chronic stress to relaxed coherence. In this state of creation, we become magnetic. We begin to attract the experiences, people, and opportunities that match our new emotional frequency. This is the power of emotional liberation. When we free ourselves from the emotional prison of the past, we open the door to a future filled with limitless potential. We no longer live in reaction to what has happened. We live in creation of what is yet to come. Chapter 13. The Art of Manifestation. Aligning thoughts, emotions, and energy. Manifestation is not just a concept. It is an art, a science, and a way of being. It's a process that requires more than just wishful thinking. It requires an understanding of how thoughts, emotions, and energy interact with the fabric of reality. At its core, manifestation is the act of bringing your desires into physical form by aligning your inner world with the outer world. When you align your thoughts, emotions, and energy with the frequency of your desires, you unlock the natural flow of abundance and opportunity that the universe has to offer. But understanding how this process works requires a deeper dive into the very nature of reality, energy, and consciousness itself. To begin, we must first understand the role that energy plays in the manifestation process, as everything in existence, from the most microscopic particle to the vastest cosmic structure, is composed of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Our thoughts, emotions, and energy are no exception. When we align ourselves with the frequency of what we want to manifest, we send out a signal to the universe that matches that frequency, attracting the circumstances, people, and experiences that vibrate at the same rate. The frequency of thought and emotion. Every thought we have, whether conscious or unconscious, carries a certain frequency. This frequency is not just a theoretical concept. It is a real, measurable wave of energy that affects our reality. When we think positive, empowering thoughts, our brain releases chemicals such as dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, neurotransmitters that make us feel good and create a state of coherence within our mind and body. This state of coherence is crucial for manifestation because it allows us to send out a clear, stable frequency into the universe, one that matches the energy of what we desire. On the other hand, when we dwell on negative, fear-based thoughts, we lower our frequency and enter into a state of dissonance. The brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which create a state of tension and resistance. This resistance disrupts the flow of energy and makes it harder for us to manifest what we want because we are sending out conflicting signals to the universe. This is why it is so important to monitor our thoughts and to consciously choose thoughts that align with our desires. In order to raise our frequency, we must first identify and release the limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns that keep us stuck in a lower vibration. This involves becoming aware of the subconscious programs that drive our behavior and thought processes, as these programs often dictate the energy we emit without us even realizing it. When we free ourselves from these limiting beliefs, we can consciously choose thoughts that empower us, elevate our emotions, and raise our overall energetic frequency. The power of emotion and manifestation. Emotions are perhaps the most powerful force in the manifestation process. While thoughts provide the blueprint for what we want, it is our emotions that give that blueprint the energy to come to life. Emotions are the fuel that propels our desires into physical reality. When we feel the emotion of gratitude, love, excitement, or joy, we activate the energy of the universe and send out a magnetic signal that attracts experiences that match those emotions. For example, when we feel gratitude for the abundance we have in our lives, we are energetically sending out the message that we are open and ready to receive more abundance. The universe responds by bringing more of what we are grateful for into our lives. This is the power of emotional alignment. However, if we are constantly feeling fear, lack, or resistance, we are sending out a conflicting signal that repels the things we desire. Negative emotions act as a form of resistance, creating blockages that prevent the flow of energy and manifestation. To overcome this resistance, we must learn to cultivate and embody positive emotions on a daily basis. This requires developing emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions in a way that supports our manifesting goals. By practicing gratitude, self-love, and positive affirmations, we can shift our emotional state and begin to align with the energy of our desires. Emotional coherence is key to manifestation because it ensures that we are sending out a clear, powerful signal to the universe When our thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, we become a magnetic force for the things we desire. The role of energy in the manifestation process. Energy is the medium through which our desires travel into the physical realm. Everything is energy, and everything vibrates at a certain frequency. The universe itself is a vast field of energy, constantly in motion and interacting with the energy that we emit. When we align our energy with the frequency of our desires, we begin to attract the people, circumstances, and opportunities that match that frequency. One of the most profound ways to raise our energy is through meditation. Meditation helps to quiet the mind, release tension in the body, and bring us into a state of coherence. When we meditate, we tune into the subtle frequencies of our energy field and align ourselves with the higher vibrations of the universe. This creates a flow of energy that is unimpeded by negative thoughts or emotions, allowing us to manifest with greater ease. In addition to meditation, practices such as deep breathing, visualization, and energy healing can also help to shift our energy and align it with our desires. The key is to find practices that work for you, techniques that help you raise your vibration and maintain an energetic frequency that is in harmony with what you want to create. The science of quantum entanglement and manifestation quantum physics has provided us with a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. One of the most fascinating concepts in quantum physics is quantum entanglement, the idea that particles, no matter how far apart they are, can be instantly connected and influence each other's behavior. This concept has profound implications for manifestation. It suggests that our thoughts and emotions are not isolated events, but are deeply interconnected with the fabric of reality. When we align our thoughts and emotions with our desires, we are essentially entangling ourselves with the very energy of those desires. This means that the universe responds to our energetic state by bringing us into alignment with what we want to create. The process of manifestation is, in many ways, a quantum phenomenon. It's about creating a resonance between your energy and the energy of the universe. When this resonance is strong enough, the energy of your desires begins to materialize in your reality. Understanding the science of quantum entanglement can help you realize that you are not separate from the universe, but rather an integral part of it. You have the power to influence the energy around you by consciously aligning your thoughts, emotions, and energy with your desires. The power of visualization and emotional alignment. Visualization is a powerful tool for manifestation because it allows you to create a vivid mental image of your desires. When you visualize your goals, you are engaging both the conscious and subconscious mind, sending out a powerful signal to the universe. But visualization is not just about seeing the end result, it's about feeling the emotion of having already achieved that result. The more you can connect emotionally with the vision of your desires, the more powerful your manifestation will be. For example, if you are visualizing abundance, feel the joy, excitement, and gratitude as if you already have everything you need. This emotional connection amplifies the energy of your visualization and increases the likelihood of its manifestation. By aligning your thoughts, emotions, and energy with your desires, you create a powerful magnetic force that attracts what you want. The key is to practice visualization regularly and to make it a part of your daily routine. The more you visualize and embody the feelings of your desires, the more your energy will align with the frequency of those desires. The law of attraction and its role in manifestation. The law of attraction is often described as the universal law that governs manifestation. It states that like attracts like, meaning that the energy you emit will attract experiences that match that energy. When you align your thoughts, emotions, and energy with your desires, you are essentially sending out a signal that draws those desires into your reality. However, the law of attraction is not a passive process. It requires active participation. You must not only think positively and feel good, but you must also take inspired action towards your goals. Manifestation is not about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. It's about co-creating with the universe. By aligning your energy, you are opening the door for the universe to bring the right people, opportunities, and circumstances into your life. But you must also be willing to step through that door when it opens. Taking inspired action means trusting your intuition and following the guidance you receive from within. As you take steps towards your desires, the universe will support you by bringing the right people and circumstances into your life. Trusting the process and letting go. To master the art of creation, you must operate from a place of conscious creation. This means being fully present in every moment and choosing your thoughts, emotions, and actions deliberately. Conscious creation involves a deep awareness of how your energy is being directed and how it impacts the world around you. It's not about forcing things into existence or trying to manipulate circumstances. Rather, it's about aligning with the flow of universal energy and allowing it to work through you. One of the key aspects of conscious creation is the ability to stay in the present moment. Most people are caught up in the past or future, either ruminating on past experiences or worrying about what's to come. This constant mental chatter keeps them disconnected from the present moment, where true creation occurs. The present moment is where all possibilities exist, and it is the space in which you can consciously direct your energy to create the future you desire. When you are fully present, you tap into the infinite potential of the now. In this state, you can choose your thoughts and actions in alignment with your desires. This requires you to be mindful of your inner dialogue and your emotional state. For instance, if you desire to manifest a new career, but your thoughts are focused on past failures or fears of the future, you are unintentionally creating resistance. The key to conscious creation is to focus your thoughts and emotions on what you want, not what you fear or don't want. By consciously choosing thoughts that align with your desires, you are actively shaping your future. The role of intuition in creation intuition plays a vital role in the art of creation. It is the inner guidance system that helps you navigate the path of your desires. Your intuition is your connection to the divine intelligence of the universe, the part of you that knows exactly what is needed to create your highest good. Learning to trust and follow your intuition is an essential aspect of mastering creation. Too often, we dismiss our intuitive nudges in favor of logical reasoning or external validation. We look for answers in the external world, relying on the opinions of others or societal expectations to guide our decisions. However, the most powerful answers come from within. Your intuition speaks to you through subtle feelings, gut instincts, and inner knowing. It may come as a whisper or a strong, undeniable pull, but it always guides you toward what is in alignment with your highest potential. To connect with your intuition, you must first quiet the noise of the external world. This is why practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and time in nature are so powerful. They create space for you to tune into your inner wisdom. When you cultivate a relationship with your intuition, you no longer have to rely on external sources of guidance. You become your own guide, trusting in your ability to make decisions that serve your highest good and move you closer to your desires. Overcoming resistance and limiting beliefs. As you step into your power as a creator, you will inevitably encounter resistance. Resistance often manifests in the form of fear, doubt, or limiting beliefs. These obstacles are not to be feared, but to be understood. They are simply reflections of the parts of you that have not yet fully embraced your power. Limiting beliefs are the stories you tell yourself about what is possible and what is not. They are deeply ingrained thought patterns that shape your reality based on past experiences or societal conditioning. Common limiting beliefs include thoughts such as, "I am not worthy of success," "I don't deserve love," or "It's too late to change." These beliefs create blocks that prevent the flow of energy and hinder your ability to create the life you desire. Overcoming resistance begins with identifying and challenging these limiting beliefs. The first step is to become aware of the beliefs that are holding you back. This requires deep self-reflection and the willingness to confront the unconscious stories you have been living by. Once you identify these beliefs, you can begin to shift them by replacing them with empowering beliefs. For example, if you believe that success is reserved for others, you can reframe this belief by acknowledging that success is abundant and available to all. This shift in mindset opens up new possibilities and allows you to step into your full creative power. The flow of abundance and prosperity. Abundance is not something you attract into your life. It is something that you align with. The universe is abundant, and it is always offering opportunities, wealth, and love. However, many people are disconnected from the flow of abundance because they are focused on lack, scarcity, or fear. To master creation, you must align yourself with the flow of abundance. This involves shifting your mindset from one of lack to one of abundance. It's about recognizing that there is more than enough for everyone and that you are deserving of your share of the universe's gifts. One of the most powerful ways to align with abundance is through gratitude. Gratitude is the magnetic force that attracts more of what you are thankful for into your life. When you focus on what you already have and express appreciation for it, you send out a signal of abundance to the universe. This signal attracts more abundance, creating a positive feedback loop. In addition to gratitude, taking inspired action is also crucial to aligning with abundance. The universe does not operate in a vacuum. While it is important to focus on your inner state, it is equally important to take action toward your goals. Inspired action comes from a place of intuition, and it propels you forward on your path to creation. By taking steps toward your desires, you demonstrate your commitment to the manifestation process, and the universe responds by bringing the right people, circumstances, and opportunities into your life. Embodying your highest self. To truly master the art of creation, you must embody your highest self. Your highest self is the version of you that is aligned with your true essence, free from fear, doubt, and limitation. Embodying your highest self means stepping into your full power and embracing the limitless potential within you. This requires a deep commitment to personal growth and self-realization. It involves shedding the layers of conditioning, fear, and insecurity that have kept you from fully expressing who you are. Embodying your highest self also means acting with integrity and authenticity. When you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your highest values, you become a powerful creator of your reality. Your actions are in alignment with your true desires, and the energy you emit is one of confidence, clarity, and purpose. The more you embody your highest self, the more you magnetize the experiences and opportunities that reflect this alignment. It is through this embodiment that you begin to create a life that is truly extraordinary. As you continue your journey of creation, remember that you are never alone. The universe is constantly supporting you, providing you with the energy, resources, and guidance you need to manifest your desires. The art of creation is an ongoing process of self-discovery, growth, and alignment. By mastering the inner game of thoughts, emotions, and energy, you can unlock your true potential and create a life that reflects the highest expression of who you are. The key is to trust the process, embrace your power, and take inspired action. You are the creator of your reality, and the possibilities are limitless. Chapter 15. The final step, living your extraordinary life. The journey you've embarked upon thus far has been nothing short of transformative. You've explored deep principles of self-awareness, manifestation, energy alignment, and the harnessing of your true potential. The concepts of creation, abundance, and intuition have become tools that you now wield with precision and mastery. But what remains? The final step, the integration and embodiment of everything you've learned into a life that is nothing less than extraordinary. It's one thing to understand these concepts intellectually, to grasp the abstract philosophies of creation and energy, but it's an entirely different matter to live them every single day. The final chapter is about solidifying these principles within your life and living them out with unwavering commitment. It is about taking your newfound understanding of the universe, the self, and the art of creation and weaving them into the fabric of your everyday existence. This process begins with a shift in identity, a realization that you are not just the person who wants to create a better life. You are the creator, the embodiment of your highest self, and the architect of your reality. The process of integrating your higher consciousness into your everyday life requires you to let go of old, outdated belief systems and fully embrace the person you are becoming. It's about releasing the grip of past conditioning and stepping into a new paradigm of limitless possibility, where you are empowered to create a life that reflects the highest version of yourself. It's about truly understanding that you don't need to be anyone other than who you already are to create the extraordinary life you desire. It is your birthright to do so, and now it is time to embrace it. Living in alignment with your highest self. At the heart of living an extraordinary life lies the unwavering commitment to align with your highest self in every thought, word, and action. It is easy to lose sight of our true essence when we are constantly bombarded by external distractions, judgments, and the noise of everyday life. But when you consistently return to the core of who you are, your highest self, you align with the source of infinite wisdom, creativity, and power. Your highest self is the part of you that knows no limits, holds no fear, and operates from a place of unconditional love and abundance. To live in alignment with your highest self is to be in harmony with the natural flow of the universe, to trust that everything you need is already within you, and that you are fully equipped to navigate the challenges that come your way. It is about choosing to embody your most authentic self, free from the constraints of societal expectations and self-imposed limitations. This alignment requires you to be present in each moment and to make decisions from a place of inner knowing, not external validation. It's about trusting your intuition, listening to the whispers of your heart, and making choices that honor your truth, no matter how unconventional they may seem. When you live in alignment with your highest self, you are no longer swayed by the judgments or opinions of others, for you know that your path is uniquely yours, and it will lead you exactly where you are meant to go. One of the most powerful ways to maintain this alignment is through daily practices that reconnect you with your inner wisdom. Meditation, breath work, and journaling are excellent tools that help you center yourself and ground in the present moment. These practices allow you to clear away mental clutter and create space for the intuitive guidance of your highest self to come through. The more consistently you return to these practices, the more naturally you will embody your highest self in all areas of your life. It becomes less of an effort and more of a way of being. As you continue to align with your true essence, you will notice that the world around you begins to mirror your inner state. Opportunities will flow more easily, relationships will deepen, and abundance will manifest in unexpected ways. This is the power of alignment. When you are in sync with your highest self, the universe conspires in your favor, supporting you in your journey of creation, stepping into your power, and taking inspired action. While alignment with your highest self is the foundation, the next step is to take inspired action. You are not here to passively wait for life to unfold. You are here to create it. The act of creation requires more than just positive thinking. It requires courage, action, and a willingness to step into the unknown. Many people get caught up in the desire for perfection or the fear of failure, which keeps them stuck in a state of inaction. However, it is important to understand that action, no matter how small, is the key to moving the energy of creation. Inspired action is not forced action. It is action that is guided by your intuition and aligns with the vision you have for your life. It is the next step that feels aligned with your inner truth, even if you don't have all the answers or the full picture of the path ahead. Taking inspired action means trusting that the universe will support you every step of the way. It means moving forward with faith, knowing that the next step will always reveal itself when you are ready for it. The key is to be open to the signs, synchronicities, and opportunities that present themselves, and to trust your gut feelings and instincts when making decisions. By consistently taking inspired action, you build momentum and move closer to the life you desire. Whether it's starting a new project, making a career change, or simply showing up in a way that reflects your authentic self, the act of stepping into your power will create the energy necessary to manifest your dreams. Cultivating gratitude and trust in the process. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, and it plays a crucial role in the process of creation. Gratitude is the frequency that magnetizes more of what you appreciate into your life. When you focus on the blessings that are already present, you send out a signal of abundance to the universe. This signal attracts even more blessings, creating a cycle of positive energy and growth. Gratitude also helps you to stay grounded in the present moment, preventing you from getting lost in the anxiety of what is yet to come. When you focus on what you already have and express appreciation for it, you shift your focus from lack to abundance, from limitation to possibility. Trusting the process is also essential in the journey of creation. As you begin to take action, you may encounter obstacles or setbacks. This is a natural part of the process, but it is important to remember that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Trust that the universe is guiding you toward your highest good, even when things don't go according to plan. Surrendering to the flow of life and releasing the need for control will allow you to navigate these challenges with grace and resilience. When you trust the process, you open yourself to the limitless possibilities that await you. Living with purpose and fulfillment. The final piece of the puzzle is living with purpose and fulfillment. Purpose is the driving force that gives your life meaning and direction. It is the unique contribution you make to the world, the way you use your gifts, talents, and passions to make a positive impact. Living with purpose means waking up each day with a sense of excitement and intention, knowing that you are contributing to something greater than yourself. Fulfillment, on the other hand, comes from within. It is the sense of inner peace and contentment that arises when you are living in alignment with your truth and purpose. It is the feeling of satisfaction that comes from knowing that you are living the life you were meant to live and that you are making a difference in the world. To live with purpose and fulfillment, you must first connect with your passions and desires. What excites you? What lights you up? What makes you feel truly alive? These are the clues to your purpose. When you follow your passions and align your actions with your inner calling, fulfillment naturally follows. Living with purpose is not about achieving a specific goal or reaching a certain milestone. It is about the journey itself. It is about embracing every moment as an opportunity to grow, to contribute, and to experience the richness of life. Embracing the infinite possibilities of your life. While alignment with your highest self is the foundation, the next step is to take inspired action. You are not here to passively wait for life to unfold. You are here to create it. The act of creation requires more than just positive thinking. It requires courage, action, and a willingness to step into the unknown. Many people get caught up in the desire for perfection or the fear of failure, which keeps them stuck in a state of inaction. However, it is important to understand that action, no matter how small, is the key to moving the energy of creation. Inspired action is not forced action. It is action that is guided by your intuition and aligns with the vision you have for your life. It is the next step that feels aligned with your inner truth, even if you don't have all the answers or the full picture of the path ahead. Taking inspired action means trusting that the universe will support you every step of the way. It means moving forward with faith, knowing that the next step will always reveal itself when you are ready for it. The key is to be open to the signs, synchronicities, and opportunities that present themselves, and to trust your gut feelings and instincts when making decisions. By consistently taking inspired action, you build momentum and move closer to the life you desire. Whether it's starting a new project, making a career change, or simply showing up in a way that reflects your authentic self, the act of stepping into your power will create the energy necessary to manifest your dreams. Cultivating gratitude and trust in the process. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, and it plays a crucial role in the process of creation. Gratitude is the frequency that magnetizes more of what you appreciate into your life. When you focus on the blessings that are already present, you send out a signal of abundance to the universe. This signal attracts even more blessings, creating a cycle of positive energy and growth. Gratitude also helps you to stay grounded in the present moment, preventing you from getting lost in the anxiety of what is yet to come. When you focus on what you already have and express appreciation for it, you shift your focus from lack to abundance, from limitation to possibility. Trusting the process is also essential in the journey of creation. As you begin to take action, you may encounter obstacles or setbacks. This is a natural part of the process, but it is important to remember that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Trust that the universe is guiding you toward your highest good, even when things don't go according to plan. Surrendering to the flow of life and releasing the need for control will allow you to navigate these challenges with grace and resilience. When you trust the process, you open yourself to the limitless possibilities that await you. Living with purpose and fulfillment. The final piece of the puzzle is living with purpose and fulfillment. Purpose is the driving force that gives your life meaning and direction. It is the unique contribution you make to the world, the way you use your gifts, talents, and passions to make a positive impact. Living with purpose means waking up each day with a sense of excitement and intention, knowing that you are contributing to something greater than yourself. Fulfillment, on the other hand, comes from within. It is the sense of inner peace and contentment that arises when you are living in alignment with your truth and purpose. It is the feeling of satisfaction that comes from knowing that you are living the life you were meant to live and that you are making a difference in the world. To live with purpose and fulfillment, you must first connect with your passions and desires. What excites you? What lights you up? What makes you feel truly alive? These are the clues to your purpose. When you follow your passions and align your actions with your inner calling, fulfillment naturally follows. Living with purpose is not about achieving a specific goal or reaching a certain milestone. It is about the journey itself. It is about embracing every moment as an opportunity to grow, to contribute, and to experience the richness of life. Embracing the infinite possibilities of your life. As you move forward in your journey of creation, remember that your potential is limitless. There is no end to the possibilities available to you, no cap on the abundance you can attract, and no limit to the joy and fulfillment you can experience. Your life is a canvas, and every thought, emotion, and action you take adds color, texture, and depth to the masterpiece you are creating. Embrace the infinite possibilities that await you, and trust that every experience, whether joyful or challenging, is a part of your growth and evolution. As you continue to live in alignment with your highest self, take inspired action, and cultivate gratitude and trust, you will create a life that is nothing short of extraordinary. The process is ongoing, and the adventure is far from over. There is always more to discover, more to create, and more to become. And as you step into the full expression of your true self, you will inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of transformation that reaches far beyond your own life. Now that you have unlocked the keys to creating your extraordinary life, it is time to step into your power. The world is waiting for you to show up, to be the creator of your reality, and to live a life that is a true reflection of your infinite potential. The final step is not about reaching a destination. It is about fully embracing the journey. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust that you have everything you need to live the extraordinary life you deserve. And so, your journey of becoming supernatural continues. May it be filled with growth, creation, and the fulfillment of your highest potential.